Well, good evening, everybody. It's your host, Sergeant Friday, with your Ass Hurst News Network. We're going to do another call-in show tonight. We're going to have a few different rules on the call-in. Keep it short, keep it concise, ask a question, make a statement, and we will then move forward. I have not heard from my co-host, Cletus. I was made to understand that he was ill, and not just mentally, but physically, apparently. I think it's moved from the mind to the body. Dead floozy. Dog burned Johnny Gable's dead floozy. Huh. Ain't that some shit, right? I have no idea what the hell that is. But that's quite the name there. Dag burned Johnny's Gable's dead floozy. Huh. That's fucking unusually weird. But it must mean something to someone, as most things do in our world. I'm not so sure what, but yeah. Yep. So what do we think? What do we think, folks? We have ourselves a president that's just in there. He's fucking kicking and screaming and swinging and getting shit done. I wish it wasn't all by executive order. We're going to cover a little bit of that on how these executive orders have gotten a little bit out of fucking hand, but not just with President Trump, with every president elected. And it's just no way to have the country run. Hey there, Ogden girl. These executive orders, a plurality of them need to be moved through Congress and the Senate and turned into laws. I think some of the most important ones that need to be turned into law would be when it's around the energy sector and the oil and the pipelines and the where it can be sold. It's quite insane that every time a different president gets in, as we've just witnessed, Trump unleashed energy, Biden shut it down and tried to destroy it. Now Trump is unleashing it again. And if JD doesn't win in 4 years, the next Democrat's going to shut it all down again. And so some of these executive orders need to be moved into legislation or taken right out of the executive and moved to maybe under a War Powers Act, to where he can give instruction and direction, limits or whatever to certain industries, which already exists. But some of these fucking things are just crazy that you got to keep. The president declares you can hire people just based on gender and race, and that's all that matters. That shouldn't, the power of the president shouldn't have that power. I know he's the chief executive, but goddamn, standards are standards, and anybody that wants to change the standard, if it isn't for a better standard, well, then who's to determine what's better? Standards are standards. That's why we call them standards, right? So some of these executive orders that he's taken, and there's been a ton of them. There's just been a ton of these things. And and it's all countering what Biden did. And that's what's fucked up. So that's going to be a topic of discussion. So tonight, if people want to call in and leave their opinion, take a shot at old Sarge, or create a topic. 585-454-9932. Again, we don't have Cletus. I don't know what happened to Cletus. He's ill or playing hooky, or for all we know, they could be getting married. I just can't answer that. I don't know. I haven't had any conversation with him. I did text him, and he has not returned the text. So, he's a man overboard, and we'll have to see if the ship turns around and picks his ass up. I'm not so sure that's going to happen. We've got a bunch of viewers over here. We got 20 is here now, and YouTube, the tubes of you, and as usual, we got a couple of people over at Rumble. Hi, Rumble people. I am probably the most unknown podcaster on Rumble, and I really don't fucking mind. To be very honest with you, I got so few followers on Twitter that I think I'm following him. Not on Twitter, I mean on Rumble. So how's everybody doing tonight? I think we solved the crime of who killed his kid. I think it was drugs that got his kid killed. I was trying to zoom in using the lensing of the moon and some of Einstein's equations to figure out how his son was killed and by who. And I tried to consult with bubbly bullshit Waters, and send her images that were, standard images that we blew up to infinity, and to see if the tiny pixels that were now the size of a house could give us any idea who committed this crime. And so far we haven't had a lot of luck, but we are kind of leaning towards the idea it was drug cartels, or just some phony story by a parent that they were connected to drug cartels that we have yet to understand or figure out. Wandering around the woods and getting connected to the Idaho 4, and then discussing the deaths of 4 other children in some really fucked up fucking ways. So so we're still on that case. We're going to pay attention to that case, and we're going to try to solve that for the fam, because in the infinite amount of ways that we can interpret noises and pixelated images, we could probably make a career out of this, and come up with some fucking potential theories of just how that happened. And although the details are few, because I don't really give a fuck about when, where, why, and how. I just know it happened. So I'm going to just go with I know it happened, right? Instead of the where, why, when, and how, because, specifics don't fucking matter. We just know that the kid was killed, and, again, that story will continue. Furthermore, we do have some interesting things come out of fucking X. I bet Sidney Powell, that nasty little bitch that attacked my account with General Flynn and kicked out. I lost 20,000 followers because of them fucks. When I first shown proof that Republican districts were mishandling their votes in the 2020 election, and it was the Republican vote count that got Biden the election. As soon as I started posting that and showing evidence of that, Sidney Powell and her little fucking clique with Flynn and others attacked my account and actually got me banned from fucking Twitter. But prior to being banned, I lost 20,000 followers. Sycophants that see these people as valuable when they're deep state cunts, including General Flynn, that little fucking wackadoodle piece of fucking Obama cocksucking dick. Anyway, back to a different topic here. So what I was going to show was some kindness, but there's very little room in today's fucking world for kindness. Many people don't deserve kindness. They deserve a good fucking smack back of the head repeatedly, right? Until there's a handprint on it. But I did want to show, seeing my bookmarks. I said this the other day. Look, when we found out Dr. Fauci was given a pardon by Biden, okay? Here's what I said was, let me think, where's the tweet? I said, if you want to make this oldest man accountable, what we need to do is to encourage a foreign nation to extradite him and prosecute him. And then today a report comes out. I think Vladimir Putin reads old Sergeant Friday's tweets. Putin is reportedly seeking to have Anthony Fauci extradited to fucking Russia to face COVID-era crimes against humanity. Holy shit, I think I'm a predictor of future events. I just don't realize it. So I'm not sure that that's actually true. Although Twitter did respond that we don't, X, X has readers' content, and we don't have an extradition treaty with Russia, which is true. But we do have Russia and the Ukraine and war. And so in case Tommy Jude is out there listening, you stupid motherfucker, a war started by Barack Hussein Obama in 2014. You fucking dick licker. Anyway, back to the topic here. Because there is going to be a treaty negotiated with Russia and Ukraine, and we're going to take fucking center stage, maybe Putin can ask Trump, and Trump can actually get Dr. Fauci fucking send his ass to Russia, put him on a private fucking plane, send his fucking ass over to Russia, so he can explain to the world why 6 million people were killed under his fucking vaccine and his fucking rules to hide in your house and wear masks and keep your kids out of school and shut down your business. And I'm not sure that that's going to happen. It's probably unlikely, but it is an interesting fucking topic. And I like these abstract topics where, of course, my prediction of the topic before it ever became a topic is what amuses me. Oh boy, pardon me. That was a big one. 585-454-9932. Call in any topic. Can be a normal. You could talk about roses, dandelions. Talk about whatever you want. Come in, drop a topic. We'll see if we can't excite more people to engage in that topic. Come in and drop an insult to tackle, defend some of these people that I'm pointing out are useless pieces of shit. And, come on in here and defend them. You're free to do that as well. Matter of fact, if you're one of those people like Tommy, you're welcome to call in too. You fucking twit. What's going on, Gray, Ogden, Carl's here. Everybody, Carl is here. Looking to see if Frank drops in. I got to go check over there on X. I don't see. We got a few people on X. So what else do we got here? Panama and Greenland. Russia, Panama, and Greenland. Yeah. Let's negotiate a peace treaty, and we'll include some of the people involved in that COVID cover-up and in that COVID scam that enriched the fucking donors to the political class and fucking killed 6 million of us. Let's see if we can't get them part of an extradition treaty with Russia. I'm sure Russia would roll out the carpet of doom for these motherfuckers, right? Holy Christ, talk about fucking serving it up on a platter. Yeah, Lucky, I hope Lucky feels better. I think Lucky has got a cat fever or something. I'm not too sure, but not feeling so good, but because it could be a cat fever. You just never know. What the hell? It could be anything. Could be nothing. Spent a couple hours at the dentist, or maybe an hour and a half getting a tooth cleaning and all kinds of other shit. I got to go back and get a couple of cavities filled, and then I'm going to detach myself from that dentist and go to the tooth replacement dentist to get 3 teeth replaced. I got to have one pulled, and yeah. So yeah, we're fucking moving along on the dental stuff. And man, these people are screwing me. They're really giving it to me. But in all fairness, they didn't charge me for x-raying every tooth. They didn't charge me for a full head x-ray, of which, just so you know, folks, of which even they were impressed with the size of my brain. Even though they were there looking at teeth. And even though I'm making that up. And even though it's kind of stupid. I just thought I would throw that out there. Yeah, so they did all that. Then they did the impression. The lady says that I grind my teeth when I sleep. And what she showed me for evidence was no evidence of grinding of teeth at all. But she did make an impression where you could put they got those things you put on your teeth. And I think those things are fantastic to help whiten your teeth. So I figure with the impression and the x-rays and the individual x-rays and the exam, that had to be worth quite a bit of money. And they didn't really charge me for that. So I think what they're doing is they're making it up on these dental cleanings and the cavity work. So in the end, it'll cost me a couple $1,000 and no big deal. Case sarah. Where is your Miss W? I thought she'd be a Miss Ferguson by now. You were sitting on the dock of the bay, apparently. Yeah, if you had one break, you got to go see the dentist. That's what I told the dentist today. I said I had a choice between you and the IRS, and I chose the IRS, but I ended up here. She was like, "You're crazy, dude." I said, "Well, one's a pain that I can bear. What's the IRS going to do? Tell me I owe them money? Oh, okay. How much? Oh, okay. Here's a check. I mean, you can't argue with the mob. When the mob says you owe money, you owe money. You got to give it to them, regardless of how much personal fucking pain and whatever. You just did. What can you do? I did make a mistake. It is my fault. I accept responsibility, and I'm prepared to take the consequences. But when this girl's jamming these fucking needles in your gums, numbing your mouth, you just want to grab her by the head and slam her into your knee. It's like, cut it out. Easy, girl, easy. This is gonna pinch. That shit don't pinch. Yeah, she said that hurts. She goes, it's like getting punched in the nose. I go, if you look at my nose, I can tell you for sure that even as broken as it still appears, it don't hurt as much as that needle going into your gum. We are too old to be shy, Carl. It's time to take the training wheel. There you go. Take them training wheels off, you queen. God damn it, Carl. Oh, my God. He's kind of shy. What are you? Kind of shy. There's no reason to be shy. My God. You both can email Clue, for instance. What is that? Yeah, I'm not. No one's really a fan of the dentist. And it's hard. I even tried complaining about the price, but you're complaining to all these really, and this has got to be. This needs to be illegal. But every one of the workers and every one of the dentists are an attractive woman. That shouldn't be allowed. That just shouldn't be allowed. Because it's a disadvantage to people trying to argue price. You really don't want to get, easy to argue with an ugly bulldog of a woman. Hard to argue with really attractive women. I'm sorry, ladies. It's just how shallow and fucked up old Sarge is. I can't do anything about it. I'm a victim of my own success. My God. 585-454-9932. Get off your lazy asses. Pick up your phone, which you're holding 24 hours a day, stuck up your ass, in your pocket, in your purse, and ring the number. Oh, my God. What is wrong with you? There's about 50 people around between these few different places I stream in. And all 50 years? All what? What? Pardon me. What did I have? Oh, yeah, I had some cold cuts today, some Italian deli stuff. And my Italian deli was bought out by some guy from the Middle East. And I don't mind that at all. Bear with me here. We're going to answer. We have a call, 317. 317, speak your piece. You're on the Your Ass Hurts News Network. Are you there? Allow. Hello. Oh, it's a young woman. What can we do for you tonight?
I wanted to apologize to you. I had talked to you the other night. I had made the comment, we don't want a guilty man going free. I had no idea about any of the legal issues. So I wanted to.
I'm not sure I understand what you. I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
I had talked to you the last time you were on.
Yeah.
And we was talking about the DNA and all that, and I had said, we don't want an innocent man being found guilty of a crime he didn't commit.
And vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to apologize to you.
For what?
That you had been ever arrested for anything.
Oh, no. I'm very open about. I even use my real name, Bruno Pellicano, up on Twitter. I don't hide from people. I got nothing to hide, nothing to be ashamed of. My life is a big learning experience for me personally, because it really changed me. But for others, I don't hide from any of it. And I never killed anybody, thank God. I might yet, though, because you never know. Once a criminal, always a criminal. It's a story I keep getting told by those people that, don't like me. But, I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't like me. I'm like the perfect asshole anybody should adore. It's crazy. Yeah.
I agree.
So yeah, exactly. I mean, why not? We're all something. And, you'd be proud of what you are. Whether other people agree or not isn't important. It's that you're happy being who you are. That's what matters most. Right?
Yeah. I got to thinking about it after, but after I got found yesterday, I should never have said that.
No, you should have said whatever you wanted to say. If you learn anything from me, it's to share your mind. And if it doesn't get changed, like Carl stuck on this flat earth stuff, I don't mind. It's crazy. It's the most insane position to take, but hey, he's welcome to it. Otherwise, aside from that, he's pretty cool. And you can't really insult me or hurt my feelings. I mean, if that were the case, that I wouldn't, I throw myself under the bus more than other people throw me under the bus. So it's almost like I have to encourage people to attack me. It's crazy. Don't worry, you didn't say anything inappropriate or wrong. And if I disagree with it, that doesn't make what you're saying any less right or wrong. Right?
Well, that's true. I just, I felt bad about saying that. Damn, I should never said that. And
no, you should. That's directly related to the case. You'd hate to see an innocent man go to prison. And I think you're accurate in that. Nobody wants to see that. And conversely, we don't want to see inappropriate behavior on the government side, the police side, the state side, putting an innocent man in jail. We don't want him in jail, and we don't want a guilty man being set free because they don't do their job according to the rules. Right? We agree on all sides of it. I think you and I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. You know, like I said, everybody, I would agree with they can either, you know, as well as with this one who did it, or no, I think it was that one who did it. And like a res director, that doesn't mean anything to me because it's not been, there's no,
right.
There's not a paper trail.
No, let me just say, arrest records are relevant only in the current tense of you know, I mean, a lot of us we all have our own mountain to climb in life, and some of us it's medical, some of us it's criminal, some of it's drugs, some of it's abuse. I mean, we all have a hill to climb, and I'm grateful, and I love dearly those that can get through life without having to face any of those obstacles. I wish that for everybody. So I don't hold judgment against somebody because of their past. Their present is what I'm concerned with, and how I can interact with them. And if they're a con person, if they're a liar, if they're out here just talking shit, making up stories to get clicks, I have no respect for that person. Actually, that to me, the person deserves to be slapped around. They've earned it.
You know, like I said, what's his name? Tommy? I don't know. He was the one who said they were pissing in his face and this and that. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, after I listened to that, I thought, nope, I'm not doing that. Yeah, it's egregious. This is the ultimate disrespect.
Yeah, and it goes beyond the pale. And when people engage in that kind of a conversation against the backdrop of such a horrific tragedy, right? That's just, there's just, you can't. And look, I'm someone that created tragedy for others, so I should be the last person to be sensitive to it. But I don't really think that our people, our future generations that look back on the Idaho 4 are going to come across the stuff that we've done here, right? The internet is forever. And we should be more respectful to the process. We should look at what we're being shown and not run around on our cell phone trying to solve a case like we're Sherlock Holmes with a phone. It's crazy. The whole behavior is crazy. I don't know why I'm the only one that notices that, because I'm crazy myself. Right?
Hey, I understand why some people went there and was asking questions and that. You know, curiosity, I guess, because to my knowledge, there's not been one true crime creator to solve the case.
No, that crime circus guy, that I call him drip dropping. He's penicillin for whatever's dripping. That guy claims to have done it, but you know, he's the one putting parachutes and tunnels and it's just disgusting. You know, it's disgusting. Hang on a second. Oops, sorry. And we have a case in front of us and the information related to that case. And I don't mind, like in private, having conversations with people about how I think it happened, or as long as you stay within the bounds of the data given you. If you notice, I bring in Dylan and Bethany, but they're named in the case. I'm not dragging outsiders in. I'm not going to the Grubhub looking for a fucking picture. These people placed themselves in the home. I didn't, right? Yeah. And then I'm not accusing them of committing the crime, but I am questioning whether they had something to do with it or not, simply because they were there before, during, and after. And the viciousness of the crime and the 8-hour delay between contacting authorities and contacting friends before authorities is all suspicious to me. Okay, you too, probably, right?
Yes. I agree.
Right. I don't know anything about the car. The cops are telling us the car is involved, but where's the evidence in connecting that car? It drove around. Okay. I drove around my neighborhood 5 times today. If there was a crime, did I do it?
Well, you know, I read the first time I read the PCA, I'm like, they got it. That's right. And I read it the second time, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, it's a sad thing. I can understand how Officer Payne got his tunnel vision after the IgG work, but I suspect that IgG work, and I've said this all along, you're given hundreds of names when you submit an unknown DNA sample. You're not just given one name and one family. It doesn't work like that. You're giving a partial DNA sample or an amplified sample to a system. And you and I, if we took DNA tests, it's highly likely that you and I share some markers. Of the 20 that they look for, we may have 3 or 4 common markers. But remember, we all came from 2 people. So do you understand the complexity of giving an unknown sample to somebody and having them try to create an identity from it? That's an hell of a task. It's not as simple as they want you to think. It'd be like me guessing your phone number. It's that radical. How do I guess your phone number? You give me your digits as an example. If I give you all the digits to my personal phone, you know how hard it would be to sort those digits out into a phone number? I think, well, maybe not impossible, but very difficult. And I think that that's the kind of issue that nobody talks about with the DNA sample. First, it wasn't able to identify anybody when they uploaded it to CODIS. And second, they had to send it to a lab to amplify it and then try to build a tree from the amplified sample. I think the amplification alters the evidence.
Well, they said if there was a minute, my words, I forget how they put it, but bottom line, there really wasn't very much trace DNA that they had.
Right. That's why they had to amplify it.
You know.
Yeah. It's a confusing case.
Mm-hmm.
Say that again?
You take Delphi, Richard Allen. Look, I live in Indiana, and I literally have no faith in law enforcement or the court systems here.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Because they're lazy, just like to, well, I'm going to say allegedly, like to bury evidence. With tampering, Indiana, I don't care if it's the state police, county, local, and the judges basically are, it's going to go the way they want it.
Right. Instead of, see, that's true. And I think most Americans, no matter where they are in the political spectrum, if they're fair-minded, they do see that our justice system has been kind of fucked up. When 99% of the people get plea bargains, does that mean 99% of the people they find and accuse of a crime are guilty? And the answer is absolutely not. And you'll notice that, and this is what's always kind of been weird to me. If you committed a crime like stealing a car, what gives them the right to reach that to unauthorized use of a motor vehicle? Who the fuck are they to do that? If you're charging me with a stolen car and you're going to give me like a lighter sentence, why does the charge itself completely change? And that's what they do in plea bargains. I think that should be constitutionally unallowed. The government should not have the power to redefine the crime that you're being charged with. They should have to prove it, right? Or you have to admit to it right as it is. And if they want to give you probation, that's fine. But that's what they do. Like you were going 90 in a 60. And they deal it down to 70 and a 60. No, I mean, I just, that's where I think this prosecution stuff went off the rails is with all these plea deals.
Well, it is off the rails. I mean, let's be honest with the PCA. The only evidence that I can even think of that they have in that PCA is that touch DNA.
Right.
Because they didn't say, look, here's a, door cam, he's getting out of the car, running up to the house, he's in the house, and he comes running out all the way and back into the car. They're literally, and his phone being shut off, that was an assumption.
Correct. Everything they do is an assumption in that PCA. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where it's criminal. I appreciate you calling in again. Apology accepted, even though it wasn't needed. And we'll see if we can't drag other callers in here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
What do you mean I'm glitching, Grape? What do you mean I'm a glitching? I'm a glitching. Most of the IGG will be closed. He granted a Franks on the IGG, but the rest is 2 days of hearing. Thanks, P. Fox. That's good news. And thank you for the call in. Thank you, caller. A lot of you guys have got your tail between your legs. If you even got it, your tail's probably too small to get down between your legs. Tasted like T-bone. But, you know, if you're the client, let's work in Ogden. Let's work on Ogden, girl. Yeah, anybody should call in. Come on. It's a call-in show. 585-454-9932. Come on, we could be like T-Rev. And we can have that kind of a call-in show. That little T-Rex fucking midget. It's got those little arms, you know what I mean? He can't reach the first fucking drawer in his kitchen. His arms only go so deep into the drawer, he can't get the butter. Butter knives are in the back, he's fucked. Hell no, Sarge. Scares me. Oh, scares you my ass. Dear God, I'm just some fucking lunatic online talking shit. There's no reason why you should be afraid of me. We got 69 viewers. Oh, now it's down to 67. But it was at that number. You know that number, folks. 69. I got 3 notifications on Twitter. Rumble. We got 2 viewers on Rumble. Welcome, Rumble people. My 26 followers. It's 26 on Rumble. I'm killing it. Revenues wise, I've made about 0.037 cents. It's killing it. And I don't even want their revenue, but it's kind of insulting when you can't even make a full penny. That's worse than not wanting their revenue. If you want their revenue, what are they going to write me a check for a penny? I did that. Reminds me of what I did. Oh man. I went to jail, right? I got arrested and went to county lockup. And I didn't have anything on me, but on my way to the area where you got to empty your pockets, there was a dime on the floor. And I bent over and picked it up. And they put that box for you to put your possessions in. And I put that dime in there. The guy looked at me and he goes, "You got anything else?" I go, "Nope." And the county had to, once I got released from jail, they don't give you back your money. They got to write you a check. So I got the check. I was going to frame it. And they had to write me a check for 10 cents, which the check and the stamp and the time and the effort to give me back my 10 cents cost way more. Oh, I got that downstairs in one of my bins. Oh, man. A check from the county for 10 cents. That's stupid. I know. Holy shit. That's just fucking awesome, man. Who's Lore Lodge? I don't even know who Lore Lodge is. Yeah. I really look at I'm not even mean. When you are an idiot, then I can't help you. And the only way to deal with an idiot is to treat him like an idiot and bash him. I mean, idiocy has no room in my world. I'm sorry. But silly, stupid is fucking awesome. I don't mind that at all. And the guy says, "That's all you got?" I go, "Yeah." And he just looks at me. And I just look back at him with a blank face. Oh, man. He's the name on the street the past 2 weeks. The street of what? Do you want to be your Cletus? Cletus! Where's Cletus? Cletus has jabbed me. Jabbed me quite a few times. He's becoming a very unreliable co-host. Although I can't blame him. I mean, you know. Write more chick than they give you the damn dime back. I know. Imagine the paperwork that they had to go through for that 10 cents. Absolutely insane. I'll be your hype girl. I got to drop a link now. But if you're linked, you can't hear the phone calls. Just telling you. Let me see if I got the link here. Do I? No, that ain't the link. Hang on. I don't think it's going to let me link. How do I get rid of that thing covering my stream thing? Hang on. Present, invite. There it is. All right, copied. All right, anybody, you're also welcome to come right up through StreamYard. So here you go. So you guys can call 585-454-9932. This is your Ass Hurts News Network, your call-in show. You can call and vent. You can call and say anything you want. You can call and you can attack the host. You can agree with the host. You can set up dates and I don't know, even frolic encounters if such things exist. Van Savant. I caught Van. Look, we got a story about that guy, Van Savant. I don't even, he's not a savant. I think he's more of a, mental reject. Nonetheless, Van Savant was arguing as to whether the globe was a sphere or not. Bear with me, folks.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, who that? Who that?
What's happening?
Hey,
It's
We got a caller. We got a caller, Gray Pearl.
all right.
Hush it up. Caller. Welcome,
Okay.
caller.
it's okay. Okay, I had my second question about the Coburger case.
Yeah.
That's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the PTA, they don't really say what time she woke up out of her phase. Am I correct?
Say that again?
In the PTA, there's nothing in there that says what time the roommate woke up,
Right.
right?
Which one? Dylan or Bethany?
Well, I mean, either one.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
They don't
You're
go
right.
and call.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay, so Dylan goes into this shock stage. This is what bothers me is actually looking at it in the morning versus the evening timeline. Okay, so she goes in her room, say she's whatever, let's just go with shock phase, and that's all true.
Close and locks her door. Mhm.
Yeah, locks her door, and then whatever she does, and then remember the guy that I think Lana had him on, some student with his voice altered, this Dave guy. But anyway, what he said was that, not StreamYard, I can't, it's the kid's Snapchat, that went out to a bunch of the houses around the campus, saying that was like around 9. He said he heard that.
Yeah, now you're on you're on that WSU Kim shit. That's where that started, just so you know. Part of that started or was continued on by Kim. But I'm not attacking you for it. I'm just
Oh my God.
No, I know.
okay. All right.
But what are you saying? Are you saying that okay, so what's the WSU Kim shit? I don't
WSU Kim is some lady that claims to be her daughter got a text and everybody knew at 10 o'clock what had happened there. And that rumor's been that's just a rumor. There's no proof, there's no evidence that happened.
that Dave guy said it did.
But saying it and showing that it's true are two different things. You see? And so what's happening here is we've all been conditioned to take what makes sense and put it into our narrative. But the bottom line is there's no evidence making that part of the narrative other than that guy or WSU Kim making the statement of it. And therefore, it shouldn't be included in any of your analysis of what you're looking at. They have not provided proof that this is true. And so that can't be used. And you can agree with this. In a sensible understanding of what you can see as provable, that is not one of them. So it's not a problem to hear that, but it's a problem when you try to include that and trying to understand what you're looking at. Because there is no evidence to support that statement, that there was an earlier text or that something went out, right? So that's kind of what I mean, where a lot of the streamers and a lot of the viewers, they go off the rails with injecting things that can't be verified, but argue that they make sense. And that's fun.
Can't they verify that if it was a test?
No, they delete immediately. Snapchat is supposed to be unrecoverable.
They do, but you can still get it.
Okay, then why haven't they retrieved and shown us these people that make
I don't know if they have or not. Maybe they have.
No, they haven't. They have not. See, this is the point I'm trying to make. They have not. If they had, it'd been all over the place. You would have had Lana all over it. You would have had every streamer out there that was looking for facts all over it. I'd have been all over it. And that's why I say this is where politics and true crime are married in this way. And that assumptions based on rumor that people then determine are fact because they seem to fit. Right? Now an example, as you pointed out, the PCA is full of that. When they say that they've caught a car on video, where do they say that the occupants of that car entered the home? They don't. Where do they say there's evidence that the occupant of the car got out of the car? They don't.
I agree on that.
So the same problem applies to this statement of we got a text at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. That's an unverifiable statement by a third party. It's not worth considering. In fairness, I mean, we can agree to disagree, but you get it?
No. And you're right. I mean, I get it that it is basically hearsay. Okay. But where I'm going with it is that 1158 is what it says in the PCA that the 911 calls. Okay.
Yeah.
So there were, and this is proven, right, that there were other people there.
Yes,
when
the police department said that
911 call
publicly.
was made.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
And they also say it was used by the phone was one of the two roommates.
The phone that made the call was one of the two roommates. They didn't say who made the call. Yes, you're completely accurate in all of that. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So my question is, are they going to bring that up, your thoughts, in court and say, why? I mean, you had to be awake. I mean, these people were all there. I mean, you're not like sleeping in your room while all these people, you call people over at certain times. And I would think phone, I mean, I'm sure she called them. Can't you check phone on that? Phone calls? What time?
Yeah. There's no dispute about that call being made, but there's ambiguity in who made the call. That's that they're keeping that secret. So they told us about Dylan. They told us about Bethany. They told us about what Dylan said. You would suspect that if either one of them made the 911 call, they would have said so. So that's what I mean. They leave shit out, and it gives the viewer a chance to make a leap, a guess, and that's where a lot of the problem with this case comes in. Everything is a guess, right?
But do you think Ann will ask questions about
the
911 call?
I think Ann may present a case of alternative suspects. That would be a defense for Brian Kohberger, that there's a plethora of alternative suspects that could have committed this crime that does not include Brian Kohberger.
Sure.
Right. And I think that the two people in the house are valid targets. They admit to being there before, during, and after. So who had opportunity? They did. Who had the means? They did. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
it probably would have more motive.
Well, maybe they have no motive, but there's no motive for the crime to begin with. So that wouldn't even be relevant.
Yeah, you're right.
But means and opportunity is a big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I brought up Dylan and Bethany. And when I try to fan my understanding of the case, like when I say the house has no signs of forced entry, it's never been reported or discussed that any of the house had forced entry, but we do know every door in that house had locks on it. So that to me is an investigator how do these people enter the room without kicking in doors, without jimmying doors, and I'm just saying that there's no talk of how they got into these bedrooms. That would be something as an investigator you would hope they would want an answer to. Were they let in? Did they know the suspect that entered the room? Did they open the door to somebody? Because that's what that really concludes.
Right.
And yet that's never discussed. True crime doesn't even discuss it because they're too fucked up with TikToks and Tommy Judes and bubbly fucking waters and harsh and fucking reality and all these jerk offs with these theories. Paparazzis. None of them are looking at what's right in front of their face. Those are open game to discuss. You can't make a conclusion to how they got into the house. I'm not saying I have the answer, but I am saying those are good topics of discussion. Not what happened at the grub truck or what happened on the band field or the cop's fucking camera over in Zimbo land. I don't want to hear about that. That's just, to me, that's why I get all excited and passionate, because it has nothing to do with nothing. It's got the case in front of us is the case. Period. End of story. Right? No. You know, I'm hyper as a person, so this isn't directed towards you. It's just in the generalities of what we see, even in politics. You know, you see these headlines in politics on X or on YouTube. Boom. Melania Trump says something to Joe Biden, or they come up with these crazy, and it's all just, it's the same topic everybody else is talking about with a different bullshit headline and a different fantasy dream in their head of what happened. And it's, and here the whole,
I agree with you. That is exactly what is happening. Pretty much, I shouldn't say exactly, but 90% with that, everything's sealed, gag order. We're all doing this, but we're working with like half a puzzle. Well,
no, we're working with almost all of the puzzle. The only thing gagged, and just so folks know, the only thing gagged and the only witnesses at this point are the IGG. There's no secret order on whether there was a knife sheath there or not. The evidence that they have and all the motions that she's filed shows you that PCA is very consistent with what they're arguing in court. There's no emotions about anything other than the IGG being sealed. Just look at what they've shown us. They've shown us their cards, and the PCA sums up what they have. Nothing. They've admitted it on the stand. There's no video that shows Brian Kohberger or his car. Thousands of hours of video. None of it shows Brian Koberger in his car. So what? So that's the stuff that no one's. That's why you get these guys like Jeff H. and all these other jerk offs with all these conspiracy theories about what could have, would have, should have happened, and not really looking at the evidence. When Officer Payne tells you that there is no video that shows Brian Koberger and Brian Koberger's car and all of their collections, as Ann asked them, that's a stunning revelation. That should be a topic of contention amongst us, and we should debate that. But it gets lost and buried over the idea, and not to be rude, but like that guy telling you he got a text or a Snapchat or something. It's like, come on, man, we need to shut those people down.
Well, I'm not saying that he's all true, but he is doing. I mean, what he did say though is that he went around campus. Surely there's more.
Then why wouldn't it be a common thing? Why didn't somebody take a Snapchat, a screen image? Come on now. If the hottest girl in school, just so you know, if the hottest girl in school is caught topless and it's sent on Snapchat, you bet your ass there's a whole bunch of dudes that got a picture of that, right? Because you can screenshot that stuff.
Probably most of the people
right.
that were probably.
So imagine if somebody sends a Snapchat that the girls at 1122 King Road are dead or murdered at 9 a.m. You imagine nobody would have. My point is the likelihood of that being true is almost nothing. And the idea that they say stuff like that is disgusting to me. How dare you make statements like that? Are you trying to say that every college student on that campus didn't have enough concern to call 911? Didn't have enough concern to take a picture of the image of that? In other words, his statement is insulting to all the innocents that live around there. Right? That's why people like that, we can't let that kind of shit manifest itself and grow. It's like an infection. When you get guys talking about reflections in asphalt and reflections coming off the moon, that's an infection. It's a disease that needs to be eradicated from the internet. That whole kind of like same thing with politics. Like people they think Trump is like their savior or something. That shit needs to be eradicated. That's just stupid talk, right?
He's talking about Tommy and Bubbly and the like that make up things like they see shadows in asphalt.
I'm just trying to figure out how Ann's going to use the next morning in the 911 call and all the kids over there.
She'll use that all shit because she's going to show how the crime scene was contaminated, and she'll get an expert on there to remind people that 80% of the dust in your home are your own dead skin cells. 80% of the dust in your home is comprised of your own shedded dead skin cells. That's what transfer DNA is. Imagine walking into the store, right? And what if I invent a pair of microscopic glasses? I swear to you, we all would look like Pigpen from Charlie Brown walking around. We literally would look like Pigpen. Sure. We lose 500 million skin cells or 500,000 skin cells a second. I can get a whole bunch of topics. That's exactly how you get also what they call herd immunity in the face of a virus. It's the transfer of that DNA. That's why they call it transfer DNA. You breathe it in. You touch it. My God. Everywhere you go, you're in contact with other people's dead skin cells. And it's kind of gross when you think about it, right?
It's gross and scary.
Imagine the skin cells wrapped up in a fart. That's horrible.
Okay, that's far. Ew.
Ew. All right. I appreciate you calling in. I'm going to shoot some shots here at Gray Pearl. Thanks for that point. I appreciate it. Pearl, don't smell the fart. It's laced with skin cells.
That's so disgusting if you think about it. Not just the fart thing, but that we shed so many skin cells that we actually do breathe each other. Ugh, I can't, Sarge. Change the subject.
Listen, my kid was little one time. I blasted one out as men often do. And she's like, ew, and she holds her nose. I go, don't do that. You're going to be tasting it. She didn't know what to do. She panicked. Her eyes got real big. I go, would you rather smell or taste it? And she just
my
ran
kid
out
makes
of the room.
fun of me all the time because whenever there's a bad smell, I go and I like blow it out of my mouth, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't want to taste it. I don't want to taste it."
That's just gross, man. But this whole case, right? You agree? This whole Koberger case it's been a gold mine for people that are online. And look, I'm proud of people making money. I'm glad that you could do this with YouTube, but I wish people would stay more focused on what really can be fairly and honestly discussed or debated, rather than trying to create these theories of how this kid did it.
Yeah. No,
Right?
I totally agree.
You know?
Yes, I do. Full disclosure, I have been kind of unplugged from Idaho since Sebastian came on, but I never really thought, well, Brian Koberger, I believe, knows what happened or has some role in it. But I don't believe he was yielding the night. I don't believe he was the one doing it. I just
And
don't.
I'm going to ask you to do something, because we're gonna not allow this in this stream. No
Okay.
more use of the word believe. You think something, that's fine, but don't believe in anything except God or non-God. That's it. When it comes to information, don't believe in any way in what's right, wrong, or indifferent. Accept it. Think about it. It's a fact, and you can accept it as a fact. It's a piece of information. So, based on your observations, you think Brian may have been involved in some way,
I
shape, or
think he
form.
was involved
Fair
in
enough.
some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form, but I do not think that
But
he
here's the
yielded the
catch.
knife.
This is how Americans have been duped on the internet. Is we've and I do it too. We don't realize that to believe something releases chemicals in your brain. Believing is an action like crying. Believing is an action like anger, but it's a unique action in that what belief does is it gives your brain the power to ignore things that don't fit within that belief. And that's why you have such battles between religions. And then battles have now then been extended to information. And so people then start to believe in information. And now all of our arguments surround information. Global warming. Is it real? Is it not real? Well, there shouldn't be a belief one way or the other. It's a thinking process, and you come up with the facts that are available to you. And that then makes you decide, I think it's real, or I think it's not. And there's a value in
I think
belief.
global warming is not. Sorry.
Okay. And
I
what, when
was
I guess
practicing.
there's a few things as I stream that I try to push out, that even though there may not be thousands of listeners, that the power for a human to believe is unique to a human, right? Imagine if a deer could believe everywhere he goes there's a death threat. It would starve to death. It would stand in place and starve to death. Deers don't believe anything. Cats don't believe anything. Dogs don't believe anything. They don't have that
Thought of it like
capacity.
that. And it's
So for a human
enlightening.
and also, why do you think we were told not to eat from the tree of knowledge? You shall worship no other God but thy Lord God, right? In that one religion. And I'm not promoting any religion, but why do you suspect that people were thrown out of the Garden of Eden for eating from the tree of knowledge? And that's the reason, because now you're going to start to believe your own horse shit when you're supposed to only believe in thy God. You see? That's why they were banned. And look at from that time forward in human history. If you accept that as an explanation to creation, right? Look what we argue over. It's all about man's information. And it's not healthy. And it divides us, and it keeps people from thinking clearly, because we're not being taught how to think. We're being taught what to believe. And once people can get you to stop thinking and start believing, you no longer have the capacity to think for yourself. And that you can look around the globe and see that especially in America, that's happened in huge numbers. People don't think for themselves. The government or an agency comes out and says something, and people believe it, and other people think it through. And now you got a big explosion between two groups of people. And you can never get people that believe in something to change their mind. If you believe in Bigfoot, you're an idiot. You shouldn't believe in Bigfoot. You should think it might be possible, but first you should try to understand how a population of any creature can exist. And you can't exist unless you're producing 3 children for every pair. You can't even maintain your population if you only produce three children for every couple. That's math. There's no way to argue that. You can't win that argument. A population only grows when a pair of a couple, a man and a woman of any species, produces 3 or more offspring. Why do you think some animals have thousands of babies like fish? Well, because their offspring are generally food. And the population can't grow unless more of the food lives than what produced them. So if 10 million fish produce 500 million fish, then you've got a population that might survive to get to 11 million fish. You see, if you have husband and wife and they produce 1 child, when the 2 parents die, you've just lost part of your population. You see? So now it's up to the kid. The kids got to make more. So when you apply that reasoning, which is it's a thinking reasoning that cannot be denied, and you apply that to Bigfoot, there's no way you can have Bigfoot sightings on the scale that they've claimed without big herds of Bigfoot. Herds of them, not 20, 30, thousands of them would be required to even come close to what people claim that they've witnessed in forests across the United States. Therefore, Bigfoot cannot exist. There's no way to support or sustain that population. There's no proof a population of that size exists. So you have to side on the idea that Bigfoot most likely isn't what they're saying. It's most likely a bear or something, right? Bears exist because there's thousands of bears that make thousands of babies. The mother has what, 3 cubs on average, 2, 3, 4 cubs, right? And then through attrition, one of them may die, may get eaten by a male. And unless they keep hitting 3 or 4 cubs, the bear species will become extinct. That's when you're in decline. Elon Musk talks about that all the time, how humanity is in decline. A couple gets married and has 1 kid. Well, there's the beginning of the decline of your population.
That's why he's got like 13, I think, or something.
Right. And yet try to discuss with somebody that particular point of view, which is accurate and undisputable. And if they believe in Bigfoot, I could speak until my head falls off and they're still going to believe in Bigfoot. It's a misappropriation of your power of belief when you apply it to man's information. You follow me?
I do. And I think that there's a lot of people in chat that also do. And, God knows you're brash and you may have certain personality quirks, but I personally don't like snowflakes, so I'm here for it. But in that, you offer a huge amount of insight and always make people think. Like just now, like just the word belief. Like I've said it for years. I believe this. I believe
Me too.
That. You just
Me
gave
too.
me
Look, I'm guilty of it
new
too.
Perspective on that word. You know.
Me
what I
too,
mean? Like,
man. I'm guilty of it as much as anyone in this chat room. Remember, I mean, I have insights. That doesn't mean I can follow them perfectly either. I'm no saint.
right.
I use the
I'm
term
not-
believe and try to catch myself, but I've used it heavily my whole life.
No, I appreciate what you offer and what you put out there, and 9 times out of 10, I fucking agree with it. So
Yeah, I
that's
try
why
to
I'm-
make it simple. That's one of the things that, and like I said, once you believe, like you believe in the flat Earth, the biggest
no,
thing.
I don't. That's just a joke.
No, I know, but I just want to.
Joke.
I know, but I want to make this
Okay.
point.
Oh, sorry.
Those
It's a
that
joke.
believe in the flat Earth only ask you to prove them wrong. I'm a multi-billionaire. Prove me wrong.
Well, you
Right?
only work 3 months out of the year, so
No,
there's a
I
little bit of
work.
evidence.
Well, yeah, I do. You probably, if
I'm
you had
kidding.
2 hours, 40 hours a week, 40 hours a month, I work for 9 months.
I'm kidding. Yeah,
That's
I know. You have
36
a
weeks, right?
very successful business.
Yeah.
I know.
But here's my point. I'm a billionaire. Prove me wrong. The Earth is flat. Prove me wrong. I mean, no. You want to know if I'm a billionaire, then you should start demanding my financial records. I should be able to support the statement. And no flat earther can. That's what drives me nuts with the flat Earth conversation. They're always trying to put it on the person that says there is no flat Earth. They try to put it on you to describe it, why it's not flat, and that's a unique way to I call that con man talk. Where's your solid proof that scientifically can be reasoned out to support the Earth is flat, and they don't do it. How do you explain the North Pole having light 24 hours a day? How do you explain that? 6 months a year, and then 6 months a year it doesn't. How is that a flat Earth? That alone shows you that you need to stop thinking about having a flat planet. Okay, it's roundish. Let's call it that. And so that's one of the things with the flat Earth argument that it drives me nuts. They want you to solve. They want you to prove yourself because they don't accept what evidence is already there. So yeah, it's kind of cool, but irritating. The UFO people the same way. How about the people saying they're using lasers to start these fires from space? There's another group of fucking nut jobs. People don't have any kind of understanding how lasers work and the kind of energy that you need to fire a laser tens of thousands of miles to hit a target and burst it into flames. They don't understand what happens to a laser beam when it enters an atmosphere and how the light scatters because the atmosphere is full of particles. It's full of moisture. a concentrated laser beam is very difficult to shoot with any power. The amount of power you would need from space in a satellite, you'd have to have a Chernobyl nuclear power plant parked next to it. So it had enough power to create the laser to burn through the atmosphere, because it has to penetrate the atmosphere before it hits a house or a forest floor, right?
I have no illusion of lasers lighting up California. What I do question is the forestry department and why preventative measures
Yes.
aren't taken and why certain places were out of water. That kind of stuff I absolutely question. I don't think lasers came from anywhere.
Right.
But
I don't think so either.
I do believe that it's a huge problem in California, has been for the past decade, and we all have a thing. Every state has a forestry department. Maybe they should be given more money. Maybe they should be but do they really want, like, I don't know.
It's your management. I mean, I said that in a tweet today. I don't really have any understanding, or I don't have any idea what they're going to release on John F. Kennedy and his assassination. But what I think has been hidden from the public, based on an analysis, not because I believe it, or what I think after analyzing the data that's been available, is that he was killed by the KKK because of his direct affiliation with Martin Luther King, because he let that N-word into the White House, which was stated directly by Democrats back then. How dare Kennedy let that N in the White House? Who then supported the civil rights movement, who then gave authorization for that march, who then proclaimed to support civil rights for Black Americans. That is my understanding of the reason he was killed. The mechanisms and the people that carried out that are all going to be connected to the KKK directly through the Democratic Party. His own political party killed him.
Do you think our former President Bush, or lots of our former presidents, do you think that they are racist and possibly were part of this assassination?
I don't know, but what I can say is that the one argument about JFK's murder is the one that we've never had. What I'm proposing to you has never been publicly discussed. It's never been out in the public that the KKK killed Kennedy because of Martin Luther. Matter of fact, that's the last thing that's ever talked about. It's all this conspiracy about the mafia, the CIA, the Russians, the Cubans, the New Orleans mob, and it's all of this discussion about he was going after the mobs. His brother was doing this.
I don't believe any of that stuff.
It's not a matter of belief. It's a matter of.
I think similar to Trump, I think he was getting ready to expose the corruption in government.
Well,
and that's what got him taken out.
The corruption in government obviously never went away through that, but
sure,
but I find it rather curious that the angle of the utter hate that Democrats had for blacks and throughout all of American history. I mean, the Republican Party was founded to support blacks. The first black senators, congressmen were all
absolutely
Republicans,
Hillary
right?
Clinton, Margaret Sanger. They put abortion clinics in every black neighborhood. I am with you. Democrats
they named them African Americans
of the two parties, hands down. They are,
and they've never stopped being racist against blacks. They look at even now. They're arguing who's going to pick your crops if you get these people out. You motherfucker,
I think
for
what
saying
JFK
that
was getting ready to expose was more global, was more universal than that. It was a general corruption in everything, and everybody panicked. The CIA, the KKK, the other groups that you said.
I think that the government was involved because the government is heavily infiltrated with those. I mean, look at the KKK was part of our government.
What's on the 42nd floor? I mean, yes, absolutely it is. And where has Michelle been? Michelle, where has she been? Sergeant, that's what I want to know.
Where's
Michael?
You know, there's a lot of rumors, but time will tell, right?
That's right. I don't
know. I envy her because I suspect she's more endowed than me, and that's you know.
I bet she is.
That's true that he didn't want to go to war, and all of these things that we've been told, though, or what we've been told, and what we've never really been exposed to analyze, is to look at it from the racist angle of the KKK. You had so many senators and congressmen and even presidents that, I mean, Lyndon Johnson himself said these N-words won't vote for Republican for 50 years after I signed this bill. And he was right, almost to the date. Look what happened in the last election. A third of the blacks voted for Trump. I refuse to call them African Americans. I think that's an insult. They're more American than all of us in this fucking chat room, especially if your fucking relatives came over during the European migration of the 20s, right? During the time of the Titanic. If your relatives came here, your blacks have more American in them than you do.
But I think by what you're saying, grouping it all into Black and African Americans in where we are today,
right?
I don't agree with that, because I think there are just as many of us. Like, people are upset with government. People see what they have tried to hide from us for years. Like, I don't see the race issue, and I haven't, and it burns my ass. I'm a Gen Xer. I was not raised in a racist world. I was not. I mean, and I've talked to a lot of
Neither
people
was
my
I.
age, many
Neither
of
was
them
I.
here. No, we all say the same thing. Like, what? Some of my best friends are black. Like, I fucking loved NWA rapping. Name me one NWA song, and I will tell you every fucking lyric. Like, I was not raised in a racist world.
No,
And
but
then suddenly, when I
listen.
became an
Great Pearl,
adult,
Great Pearl.
when I became an
You
adult,
engaging
everything became about race. Like, why?
You engaging in that conversation gives that's what another thing people don't understand is
you were the one that
look,
said
what I'm saying is listen. They use that effectively to create these conversations. I started out with a conversation that pointed at MLK Jr. and Kennedy's connection to the blacks as the main reason he was assassinated. I don't know who the players were. I suspect that government people or agencies may have been involved, but nobody's ever discussed or even considered that the reason he was killed wasn't the military industrial complex. It wasn't some investigation into the mafia. It was specifically Kennedy wrapping his arms around the black community and trying to make them and give them the equality that they deserved. That made him hated. The Democrats hated him for that, and it never gets discussed. And to my knowledge, it's never been a public angle of the reason he was killed. It's all these other reasons that are being told to us.
It's a part of the whole, I think.
No, I don't think it's a part of a whole. I think it's the only reason he was killed.
No, we don't. No.
The only reason he was killed is you don't understand how racist the Democrats and the political parties were back then. They were just horrifically racist, man. And horrifically to the point where they were still burning crosses and dragging them and hanging them. The KKK ruled the Democratic Party for decades. Literally hated blacks to the point of insanity. And then Kennedy wrapped his arms around them, hugged them, brought them into the White House, welcomed them to civil rights, supported MLK. That was a hatred that they had for their own president because in their opinion, he was a turncoat.
Just a second.
Go ahead.
Thank you. No, because I'm happy to continue this conversation and likely will, but I can't see chat and it is a call-in show. So if we still have a lot of people and someone wants to call in and weigh in, then that'd be fantastic.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but go ahead, proceed.
So listen, that's an undisputable fact that never gets discussed in the public. This connection between Black America and Kennedy and the utter hate and even Johnson, his own vice president, couldn't stand Kennedy for that. None of these Democrats wanted blacks in that building, wanted blacks in public life at all, ever. And Kennedy bringing that in, ushering that in, was a motive to kill Kennedy. More so than the threat because go back to what the military was doing back then. We were in a Cold War with Russia. We were a whole bunch of stuff going on. We always investigate and prosecute the mob. I mean, let's not forget about Elliot Ness. Let's not forget about who was that crazy FBI director there, J. Edgar Hoover. And the mafia has always been arrested and chased down. And so, I've always had that in my back of my mind. I always thought of that as a weak reason to kill the president of the United States. Even Bobby. Hang on a second. Where is that window? 248. You're on the Your Ass Hurts News Network. Live calling. What's going on? Who we got here? Teresa. I'm doing awesome, except for a little bit of tooth work.
you're really inspirational. And I just wanted to take a second out and let you know that I am completely on board with what your mission or what you're doing is a great service to the community, because I feel like people are waking up and they're trying to hold space, but I feel like when they get in that space, they're lost. And so the progression is slow. And so you're helping to kind of connect those dots. And that's the hard part, you know?
Yeah, it
And
is.
I appreciate you.
Well, I
And I
appreciate
just
you.
wanted to let you know that.
Well, I appreciate that, Teresa. It was very kind of you. I don't consider myself inspirational, but I imagine that you could view it that way, because I'm not trying to divide
But it
people.
is-
I think
but
I'm
it
trying
is-
to show people their commonality, their common ground and common sense.
I think you make
but
us
it's
think a lot.
inspirational for someone just to hold space to do that.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. Better.
You know, and I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
No, it is inspirational. It does mean a lot, because you're trying to find a level of hospitality, and I think we're missing that connection, you know, contact, like with our communities, you know, and so that hospitality is lacking. For instance, like a lot of people are lonely, you know,
Right.
and so it is inspirational, and it does matter. And I think it's more your demeanor that makes it inspirational,
Well,
and not
Girl.
like a
Girl.
drag show, you know, where you're just up there just spouting just for clicks,
Well-
because a lot of people do get wrapped in that.
I think
And
Hillary Clinton would disagree with my demeanor, but go ahead.
well, she's not like us.
No,
So
I'm
her
just
opinion
teasing.
doesn't really matter, huh? So
No, I appreciate that very much.
to your point, I think you just inspired me, and you're doing a really good job. And I had to stop for a second and just, I don't know, comment, because I was feeling the energy. But
That's so
it's
nice. I'm glad you
important
called.
to understand that even though you weren't raised in a racist environment, the lack of not being taught about oppression says a lot, because that's the problem, kind of, right? It's not that you were raised with the understanding to do that, but if you don't understand the lessons of life, and oppression is one of them, then did you really learn about humanity? Did you really learn the necessary tools we need to be a still?
Yeah, I guess you could see it that way. I like I said, I like people, and I really adore people that are fortunate enough to get through life without any hill to climb. I think that's one of the promises America. It's an unspoken promise, but that's one of the promises that we can actually make real here in this country. It shouldn't be like I was saying the other night. If you're disabled, you shouldn't get just enough money to know how broke you are and how limited you are. You should get enough money to get some dignity out of it. Screw letting all these people in from foreign lands. Now, I want them people to do well too, but I think what should happen in America is we all should be doing so damn well that the whole world wants to be like us and they copy us, right? Other citizens of other countries that have corrupt drug cartel governments stand up against their own government. Do what we did to England. I mean, we have the capacity, the resources, and the intellect to make sure that every American-born citizen has a decent life, not by giving them taxpayer money, but because there's opportunity to grow to whatever you want to be. And there's institutions that allow you to go do that. And you get taught personal responsibility. And, you know, the best reward is your own personal reward. That's what America's all about, right?
yeah, no, I agree with you. But back, you were just talking about JFK and why you thought he
Right.
had a demise, right?
Yeah.
And to go along with what you were just saying, I'm going to connect them, right? More
No.
because we're a third world country, right?
Well,
And
yeah.
so it's almost like they have a plan. And JFK was not aligned with them. And it seems like they're still trying to get whatever. He didn't want to go off the deep end and think the worst case scenario, think World War II, scenario. But something's going on. And I think your discussions are important because it opens up opportunity to see that.
Thank you very much.
Because it isn't belief, it is fact. And I really did admire your speech about that too. That was powerful.
Right. Man's information should be sorted. And look, I can accept Brian Koberger did this crime when the information presents itself. But he's innocent until proven guilty. That means you must present evidence to show that he's guilty. It's not because Sarge wants you to do that. That's the system of justice that we've created, the people of this country. And when your information is inaccurate, when your allegation that his car was involved is false, then you need to explain to me and to every American, then why is he the suspect? Why is he being charged? Because of a sample of transfer DNA? You need to put him in that house, independent of that DNA. And then you need to let the citizens know that DNA, that's literally called, not many years ago, the clown show of DNA, because it's transfer. Your DNA can end up in Hawaii and you've never left your city. That's what kind of a clown show transfer DNA. It's not touch DNA. Touch suggests that you had to handle something. That's not true. I can go touch a gas pump or I can walk by a gas pump. In both situations, my DNA can get on that gas pump. That's why and that's not being told that people watch these stupid TV shows and they see these cops committing crimes constantly on these TV shows, going in places without warrants, doing this, doing that. And we as a society have been kind of brainwashed to just expect everybody is crooked. And in fact, so many people are crooked that you could make that argument. But that's because the mindset was planted and we believe it. But if you think about it, there's just no reason to be corrupt. For most people, for the vast majority of people, there's no reason to lie. There's no reason to be corrupt, none at all. And like, for example, I was given away at birth, and the people that I was given to, I won't get into my past, but it wasn't good. And do you think that anybody that was related to me at all would tell me who my real parents were? And they all knew, and they wouldn't tell me. For why would you do this amongst each other as human beings? It's kind of sick. And
that's a hot topic, and it's a hot
discussion. Right. So
that is currently, yeah.
So as human beings, we need to just, and it's not a religious etiquette. It's not even part of anything religious at all. Why must we have the need to confuse or lie or create these stories about it?
It's a power control. It's the control.
It is, right, right.
No, it's control. That's sick. And I agree. And we are. A lot of that is, we are unearthing a lot of things recently, aren't we?
We are. I appreciate you calling in. I'm going to give Great Pearl a couple of minutes to rattle off whatever is in her head. And because she can't participate with callers, unfortunately.
I'm good. I'm just trying to
end with this real quick.
Oh.
Creativity and being true to who you are that's the answer.
Yep. Can't say it any better than that, folks. Thanks for calling in. You're awesome. And don't hesitate to call in again another time.
All the callers tonight have been great. I'm just trying to be respectful.
The host was even greater. right? All right,
Making me
here's a
smart.
question for you. Would you rather eat a pile of shit or a matter baby?
Oh, what's the matter, baby? Come
Oh,
on.
honey, I love you too.
That's my answer.
Just a corny ass joke I heard somewhere. So what do you think, right? I honestly, I've opened that discussion about Martin Luther King and Kennedy a few times, and I think it should be part of the discussion because none of us know what really happened. But I find it extremely curious that that's the one big issue that's never ever openly discussed in any
And to be
media, in
fair,
any. Right.
that's the one issue that I have never considered. What I have
Most
considered
people,
with JFK
to me,
is
they've hidden it.
what I have considered with JFK is his last speech, where he talks about secret societies and alludes to things like Area 51 and
Hmm.
secrets that are purposefully hidden from the American people by the government
Right.
that, he found out about and possibly was ready to expose maybe all of it, maybe some of it, and maybe none of it. I don't know, but I do believe that, and that can include the Martin Luther King thing. I believe it was a culmination of things. He knew too much.
Right.
He didn't like what he didn't like what he saw. He was upset about it, and he was about to expose it. And I do believe that, and I firmly I believe that his son um was also possibly assassinated, or his plane was messed with by one woman from
Right.
Arkansas.
I
Um,
want to. Oh, let me see here. Let me see if I can do this.
I think it's big. I'm not dismissing what you're saying, but I think it's bigger than that. I think there's much more to it than that. I just do.
I'm not saying that there isn't any, and there isn't anything more to it. I think it. I think that really the best thing I can wrap my head around on. What the hell is going on with my screen? I can't bring up my StreamYard. I can bring it up. There it is. No. Yeah, this is kind of kooky here. Bear with me for a
Carl,
minute.
I'm finally looking at my TV because I can see chat. Carl said Eisenhower was the first to warn. Are you talking about possibly the military industrial complex?
I don't know
I bet
why I
you
can't
are.
bring it up. There it isn't. All right. Are we still here? Am I on here still?
Yeah, I can hear
Hello?
you.
Okay. Yeah, it won't let me reopen that window, and I'm not sure why. That's very strange. So I closed out everything. Anyway, so I have a weird computer desktop here that I can look at, and that's about it. I can't see any of the StreamYard information. I think it's a culmination. I think that it wouldn't be hard to have convinced anybody that was in the KKK to want to get rid of Kennedy, because there's a plethora of data that shows what he was doing was completely it was just unacceptable to someone that hated blacks. And there were a ton of congressmen and senators and presidents that were all integrated and funded and carried forward all across the country, especially in southern states, even in northern states that were KKK. Those big rallies they had for the Democratic National Committee, where the KKK was coming in and running the rallies. It was an open thing for so long. And when that became getting frowned upon, and Kennedy doing what he did, I think that in conjunction potentially with a military industrial complex or a dissatisfied mafia, I think all of that does have some bearing on this. But I think it's rather sad that
Or
America's
possible
never.
disclosure of extraterrestrial beings or aliens.
Yeah, maybe I find that to be incredibly, almost to the level of impossible. That there's
Why?
um for many
1947.
no for many reasons. One of them being, first of all, the distances and the amount of energy would need to traverse these distances, and the fact that civilizations would have to exist. We've only been around for a couple 100,000 years as in the form that we are. Our DNA is the same today as it was 200,000 years ago. And so we've only mastered fire. So to me, you would have to have a civilization that wouldn't have had to destroy itself, didn't get hit by a comet or an earthquake or some some planet destroying event for at least 1 million years to traverse those distances. And it just doesn't seem like that would be that common.
Well, yeah, see,
And there's no hard evidence that there's been alien visitation. There's theories, there's crazy little photos, there's stories of like that guy that says I worked at Area 51.
I disagree. So you don't believe that if crafts were found, that our government did not reverse engineer them to figure out, like, I mean, 1947 Roswell, like, I don't know. I
Can I just
personally,
say? Let me just say.
no, let me just finish and then you can go. I personally think that it is arrogant of humans to believe that they are the only species or that they are the only living things in the universe. It's completely arrogant. The universe is huge. It's vast. To think that we're the only advanced beings is absurd. I think we are the one of the least advanced beings, most likely. And yeah, that's I stand on that. I might not stand on a flat earth, but
here's
on
my
aliens.
counter to that. My counter to that is we are always looking for something. For whatever reason, there's this innate need inside of all humans to look outside of ourselves for answers and come up with glorified understandings of things like a god or an angel. And here's a question that's never asked. I'll give you an example why I don't suspect aliens were involved here. When there's a
I'm not saying involved in his assassination. I'm saying they exist.
No. I'm talking about. Let me talk now. Quiet.
Okay. All right. Fine.
When it comes to the alien intervention or alien visitation, they argue that the pyramids were built in such a way that there must have been alien technology. There's a complete fucking show about that, right? And the conspiracy of aliens being involved because they were able to move these big giant pieces of rock. And so they go on and on and on about that. But why is that same theory not applied to Mexico? And you know why? Because we know the Mexicans could have built them fucking things. They got pyramids down there that make the Great Pyramid of Egypt look like a fucking Tonka toy. There's buildings in Indonesia. There's buildings in where do we go in Vietnam? Next to Vietnam there. Cambodia. They put to shame the pyramids of Egypt. Nobody questions who built them. See, I think what's happened here is that we're trying to understand things based on what we believe rather than what we think. Everything that we're presenting to ourselves and we're discussing are things that we believe. People believe that there has to be aliens because there's so many stars out there. But let me just say the fact that there's so many planets out there, there is over 100 billion planets in our galaxy alone. And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of galaxies. Listen, how did they find Earth? How did they find this one planet out of trillions of destinations? Trillions. That this planet is the one that gets favoritism and visitation. I mean, that to me is just simply
this planet is the
impossible.
one that has water and can sustain life.
But we're not the only planet. We've already found them with our telescopes in space that there's planets that are support. Okay. But let me just say that you're also limiting life to the form of a carbon-based life form. That we don't know to be true. We just don't know that to be true.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I didn't bring up the pyramids or Easter Island or the Stonehenge. I didn't bring any of that up. You did.
I'm giving as an example of how people are interpreting aliens coming to Earth, and they don't take into the consideration the consequence of what trillions of destinations means. They don't even understand what. Do you know how much space? Remember the can tabs you would pop off your pop can?
Yeah.
Remember those cans you would pop it off? Some people would drop it into the can, others would throw it on the ground. Remember those?
Yeah.
All right, go look up a kindergarten. Go look up a kindergarten teacher that wanted to show his kids what 1 million was, and he asked all the kids to bring in the can popper. Okay, and it took him years, more than 10 years, to come to 1 million of them. And they took garbage can after garbage can after garbage bag after garbage. They filled up a U-Haul with bags and cans of tabs to make 1 million. You can't conceive what a trillion is.
I'm not following that logic.
What I'm trying to show you is that these numbers that we use, people don't understand the significance and the largesse. If there's a trillion planets in the universe, right?
Yeah.
Why would aliens only come? Why would they even come here? How would they even know?
I don't think they would. Well, my answer is because we're possibly an experiment in free will, and they're watching and not
Yeah,
interfering.
I mean, yeah, but you have no evidence to support it. There's no fact to
No,
support
of course
alien
I don't.
visitation, right?
But
Yeah.
I don't have any evidence other than the fact that I'm not naive enough to believe that we are the only thing that exists in this universe.
I
That's
don't.
the
I
only
don't think
evidence
that.
that I have.
Listen, I don't believe. I don't think that we are the only sentient beings in the universe. I don't think that at all. As a matter of fact, I'm more reasonable to think that there's other sentient beings, much closer to Earth than outer space. I think people forget what happened before the last major ice age. I think history stops 12,000 years ago because they don't want to tell you what happened 15,000 years ago. I don't think that this is the pinnacle of mankind. I think that that's what we think. I think that's what we've been told, that we believe that. We believe that we're the smartest of the Homo sapien to exist, but there's 200,000 years of mankind in its exact form. Everything that you and I are today are exactly what we were 200,000 years ago. And you're telling me it took 200,000 years to put an airplane in the sky? Come on.
No, I'm saying for 2,000 years we've passed the tests. They have let us.
That doesn't make any sense because you're ignoring 185,000 years of history they will not look into or discuss.
Well, you got
You're
me spinning
ignoring
now, Sarge, because this is deep shit. So I'm trying.
I know. All right. How do you discount the 180? How is it that we can't accept that it's more likely
Who
that
can't accept?
much
I
more
can
advanced
accept it.
civilizations of humans lived on this planet in our past? That's much more likely and much more realistic than suggesting out of the trillions and trillions of planets in the universe that we're one that aliens decided to visit and do what
Fair.
they're doing.
Okay. Fair. So what if I were to suggest
I
that
agree, Marie.
Adam and or Eve were quote unquote alien, meaning they came from another place to inhabit and seed Earth? How about that? And then we're all fucking aliens and hybrids. How about that?
Well, let me just say that you can argue that something happened where the Homo sapien has no. We depart from the family tree of ape, Neanderthal, and prehistoric man. We are a departure from that, and there is
Agree.
nothing to connect our departure to them. I don't know if you're aware of that. Homo
Wait, say that again.
sapien
Say it
is
again.
unique. Our Homo sapien, as we are for the
Right.
last 200,000 years, we appeared out of thin air.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe we're a hybrid. Maybe Adam or Eve
Maybe
or whatever came from.
maybe a virus altered some of the children back then. There could be. Here's what I'm saying though. We don't spend any time trying to understand that, and rather than that, people have jumped on this idea that
trying to
you are
understand it. I might be weird.
what?
I said I spend a lot of time trying to understand it, so I guess I'm weird.
No, I look into it too. That's why I've come to the conclusion that the aliens that we are so dead set on thinking visited this planet are no more than humans prehistory, and prehistory means beyond 15,000 years. The idea that our history only encompasses that short period of time, that's less than 10% of the time Homo sapiens have existed. And if we exist with the same brains, the same appearance, the same build, the same capacity today that we had 200,000 years ago, the question must be asked. Why hadn't they figured it out before us? What would have stopped them?
Because of evolution. I don't think we exist in the same brains and capacity as we did that long ago.
No,
we
it's a
have
proven thing.
evolved.
No, it's scientifically shown that Homo sapien as he is today and she are exactly the same genetically and DNA wise.
Come from?
They have yet to find a connection. They can't connect us directly to Neanderthals or cavemen or all the other things that they found. There is no direct connection to say you went from ABC to A to Z and now you're a Homo sapien. That tree breaks. We're off on a branch. We're all alone. You can make the argument that ancient millions of years ago, a two-legged upright primate came from the primates on this planet. But somewhere along in the future of that, way down the road, we showed up. That would almost
Right.
support your alien argument,
Right?
right? I
circled
don't
back to
know what
Bigfoot, which
caused
I think
Homo
is ironic,
sapien.
but okay.
Homo sapien diverged from the tree. We're unique.
Wait,
You
wait,
know,
wait, 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 wait. What? Who? Where is that? What do you mean Homo sapiens evolved from the tree?
we devolved. We diverged from the tree. In other words, other than our upright Homo erectus, we're not connected directly to Homo erectus. We're Homo sapien. We have similar traits. We stand up. We have an opposable thumb. We have a head on our shoulders. We walk on 2 feet. We share character traits. But the actual chemical makeup of us is different. And there's nothing in the tree to make that jump from what a hominid was to a Homo sapien. There isn't a direct gradual connection to go from there to where we are. We just
Maybe there
appeared.
is, and they're just not telling us. Maybe that's what JFK knew.
Well, no, or they're hiding it, but I don't think they're hiding
Right.
it. I think it's a scientific question that's not solved yet. They keep finding these hominids. The most recent one was the small ones on an island off of Indonesia. But we're related to them. All right, but we're related to the chimp. We share 98% of the same DNA. We're related to the chimp, but we're not chimps. You see? So that's what I'm trying to point out. So we've had 200,000 years of existence on this planet, and we're to accept that only over the last, not even 2,000 years, over the last several hundred years, we've created alternative energy sources to accomplish and do the work that man had to do with his bare hands. Steam engines, levers, pulleys, ships, all of that we created in the last couple hundred years. Hundreds of years, not thousands. You know, you're not talking about they had steam engines back in Rome. They didn't.
But that kind of furthers my evidence. Like, how did we evolve? How did we technologically advance so quickly from uh you know
No, Terry, we weren't here with dinosaurs. 200,000 years is nowhere near the dinosaur ages. I just had to answer a question in chat.
That's fine. I'd like to take this moment to remind chat that this is a call-in show. So if anyone would like to speak in, please
585-454-9932.
take me off the hook.
No, I'm just saying there's so much more to consider that what happens is, and that's why I don't accept.
I stand firm on this one. I don't know why. I think that
Because you believe
there's
it, and
more
therefore
out
you will
there.
not accept counter.
I
You will
think
not
it. I
even
don't believe it.
consider.
I think it.
No, you believe it.
Well,
You do. You believe in UFOs,
have
which
you
is
ever?
fine.
Do you know anything about astral projection or like remote viewing type of
Yeah,
stuff?
I've seen some of that stuff. Sure.
Okay. I've never tried to do any of that. Unfortunately, my ex-husband, not unfortunately, but my ex-husband was a sci-fi buff, and I was aware of all of those things, but never did anything to pursue them or anything like that. And goddamn if I haven't experienced them. And it is crazy as hell. Like,
Well, I'm going to say what I think that we've lost. And I'm going to say why I think religion became prominent just over 2,000 years ago, or even 5,000 years ago, and where all that comes from. And I think it comes from the fact that mankind didn't need a wheel to move a fucking rock. Okay? Mankind didn't need a train to move goods or to fucking travel across the land. Mankind had a spiritual connection and understood the universe not intellectually, but spiritually. They had an understanding of how things worked without understanding them through a knowledge-based book. That we were inherently born as we were created in the image and likeness of God. Okay, whether you believe in God or not, but just to believe that we were created in the image and likeness of the universe. Let's go there. And in that image and likeness of the universe, we can do like things. And I think and suspect long before they start talking about modern human history, these fucks are hiding from us that in groups we can accomplish things with just the power of belief
I
amongst
agree with that
groups of people.
100%.
And that belief is a power in and of itself.
Yes, absolutely. We can mass consciousness, mass manifestation. Like, yes, I agree with that.
So that's why I'm saying these UFOs are a distraction to keep people from trying to look at what is an alternative to that would make plausibly more sense. And the problem is they don't even attempt to go back. They act like if they can't find a bone, they can't understand it. but they're digging down in dirt and they're going down hundreds of feet and they're finding metal objects that were forged. Hundreds of feet of earth don't bury a metal object unless time has transpired. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years, maybe millions, right?
Well, I don't get wrapped up in the UFO sightings and all that bullshit. I think it's a lot of it's manufactured. What I do know about and what I have read and researched is religion and history. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can't deny, that there are other beings out there much more advanced that have, for some reason or another, helped humanity along the way, anonymously, if you will.
I know.
And
I don't see the evidence of that, and I'm a technology buff, and I could see technology going from where it started to where it ended up as a need to satisfy most importantly and most commonly military objectives. Almost all of your technology was derived to help kill an enemy. And the first computer in the world, you know where the first computer in the world was ever used and ever created?
probably Hitler and Germany in World War
No,
II.
no,
I would
no,
guess.
no.
Because
The
I don't think
USS,
that
the
we won World
USS,
War II. Tell you the
the
truth.
USS Iowa class battleships had a mechanical computer for targeting their guns. That was the first practical use, and it was a mechanical computer to decide how to hit a ship 20 miles away from you with a 2,000-pound round. That's where the first practical use of computing went. And then also in Blaisley Park, trying to crack the Enigma machine. Those are two of the earliest forms of computers. And when you work forward from them, the modern computer that we're on today makes sense that man did this. There was no intervention.
But
there was
again,
no need for it.
that brings us back to my theory or idea of maybe we were evolved from another species, but kind of an experiment in free will, by the way. So if they're, monitoring and looking at us, and we, in our free will, choose mass destruction through war and weapons and disgusting things, that is our free will. They are not going to interfere with that. They're going to just sit back and watch. They're not going to come save us. They're not going to come fight for us. It's a
Yeah, but you're making assumptions with no facts.
I'm not making assumptions with no facts. It's all hypothetical. It's all
That's it.
philosophy.
Say it again.
It's all philosophy.
hypothetical.
I mean, I can say I believe in reincarnation too, and I have no facts to present that. It's all philosophy, and in my opinion, we, meaning humanity, or what we think are humanoids,
Mhm.
could be terribly mistaken. We could be an experiment for something bigger, and they're just watching us, being like, okay, we gave them free will. Oh, look, they're destroying themselves. That's what happens when you
But literally,
when you
that's
give
not.
beings
But
free will.
literally,
They eat themselves alive.
that's literally untrue. That assessment is inaccurate.
How do you know? What's your proof? What's your facts? How do you know?
My proof and my facts was that at the turn of the century, there wasn't a billion people on this planet. And during all of the stuff you're discussing, we're now at over 8 billion. So the idea that we're destroying ourselves is
what free will?
defined
I mean, what?
How do you get 8 billion people in a society that's destroying itself? You can't make that leap. I mean, that goes down to
I'm
belief
saying
again. And
I'm saying in the bigger picture, like war and
war has it.
destructive.
Listen, you go kill 100 million people like they did in World War II. That didn't stop the growth of humanity at all. It wasn't even a pinprick in our side.
I
really-
agree with you.
Right?
And
So we're not
have
destroying
very strong
ourselves.
feelings on that. I don't think that we won World War II. I think that never mind. I'm not even going there.
But my point is that some of these statements you're making, the reality of existence shows us that they can't be true. If we're destroying ourselves, you couldn't have 8 billion humanoids on this
No,
planet.
I didn't say that we were destroyed. I said hypothetically. It's about free will. Maybe we're not. We may be the end all be all saviors of it all. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. I'm not saying that we're destroying ourselves. I'm saying that they are not going to interfere. They possibly, we are an
If
experiment.
there's
Like,
a
did you ever, you don't, like when little girls play with dolls, right? In a dollhouse. And it's very common, I have come to learn, because I felt this as a little girl, and talking to people as adults, it's like, oh my God, you thought that too. Like when you're playing with your dolls, a lot of times you feel like God. You're playing with the like this like Sims or whatever. You're playing with these figures and you're creating life and this whole universe, and you know, you have the mom and the dad and all that, and you're basically playing God. That is kind of my, not even my theory, but that is my, or something that I am suggesting is possible, that we are the dolls. We're an experiment. And the number one rule in that experiment is you cannot fuck with their free will. Let them do what they're going to do. If they're going to destroy themselves and eat themselves alive, fine. You have to sit back and watch. If they are going to succeed, if they're going to, you know, embrace love and make everything beautiful and bright and shiny, then great. But no matter what it is, they cannot intercede with free will.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a way to view things. I don't agree with that. Through the process of thought, I just don't. I find it rather. There's an author that wrote a book. I
And
can't
that's
remember the
okay.
name. There's an
No,
author
no,
that
that's
wrote a book. Listen, he writes a book and he tells this tale of these beings like you're describing that seeded a planet. And they gave these people free will, and they gave these people the same thing that you're discussing was given to us. And as you read this book, you start to see this argument amongst these beings about that point of intervening because of the hellaciousness and because of the wars and the famines and the death and the disease that's occurring on this planet of creatures that they created. And the debate amongst the people, because there really is no government, but amongst the planet's people, is whether to intercede or not to intercede. Okay, or to destroy the experiment completely and to erase these people so that they don't contaminate other areas. And this debate goes on through the book, and it's a highly intellectual debate, and almost all quarters are covered. And in the end of the book, as you're getting towards the end, and you're understanding their quagmire as you're explaining a similar thing to this book, they come forward and say that the third planet from the sun, its fate will have to rest in destiny. And you then realize, as the reader of the book, that they were talking about us on Earth and these beings overseeing us put us here, kind of like what you're saying. And it was an awesome book.
I didn't come up with the theory. I've read
didn't see that. And listen, you
read books
didn't
and watched
listen.
movies on it. It's not my theory. It's what I agree.
I'm trying to explain the book. The book is written so effectively that you never even imagined that they were talking about Earth and us. You thought it was us that created another planet. The way the book was written was so efficient and so excellently written that when they then told you in the end that third planet from the sun will have to be left to its own fate, that was their decision, you then realize that it's not us that created other beings, it's other beings that created us. And the whole book, your head explodes at the end. It's like, whoa. It was one of the best written books.
Wrapped up everything I've been trying to say for the past fucking hour.
Right. And look at, is it possible? Anything is possible, folks. Right. What you're saying is possible. But what I'm saying is we're not even looking in the likely areas to try to even explain what we are and where we came from and what's going on around us. We're looking to things that can never have an answer.
Who's not?
We're not.
You're not. Maybe others are. Maybe I am. Maybe Marie, Tennessee is. I just saw on my
you
TV.
can't.
She might agree with me.
Listen, but what I'm saying is that line of reasoning or thought is always going to remain there. Meanwhile, we're on a planet where the answers might be under our feet somewhere, and nobody's looking. Everybody's distracted by it being something other than humanity.
But what if we're never meant to know the answer? And
then there you go.
Keeps us going, and that's what sparks our energy and our insight and our intellect, is constantly trying to find it's a constant chase. And maybe that's the meaning of life. Maybe that's, whatever. I'm not under any illusion that I'm ever going to find an answer. It's just, of all the things I've read and or experienced in my life, that is the most logical explanation for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
Your ass hurts. Breaking news. All right, somebody call in. I gotta drop soon.
Somebody call in. 585-454-9932. Discuss the theory of everything. Right? I've been reading a lot about that too. And I do think that that there's a whole bunch of stuff that can be known. And there's a whole bunch of answers that are there waiting for us to find them. And I, for whatever reason, I don't know if people are like the idea that people are intentionally keeping them from us, or that we're so used to distracting ourselves with things that can never be answered, that we are in ourselves, crippling ourselves. We're tying our own hands, trying to explain or try to accept the idea that other people came here or other beings came here is something that that has to be answerable somewhere in our lifeline. In all of humanity, not yours and mine, but in the gist of if we continue to exist, that question, there has to be an answer to that. However, what I do see is modern science and modern archaeology doing everything they can to tamp down any look beyond 15 to 20,000 years. Why is it the last major ice age is the point from which we look at everything? Hang on now. Let me see
All right,
here.
before
The caller is
thank
calling.
you.
Wait a minute, caller. Wait a
All
minute.
right.
I hung up. I had to
Let
hang
me
up.
drop before you talk to the caller, but I want to
All
say
right.
goodbye first.
All right. I gotta open up. I gotta open up my.
Go ahead.
I gotta open up the voice thing again. I had to close it to get the screen to work again. So caller, hang on. I gave a phone number to a phone that's not even connected. That's what happens when you're dumb.
Turn on your
Momentarily.
Google Voice, bud.
Hang on, I got it open now. Feel free, caller. Feel free. Oh, I got it connected. Hang on. Shared. Present. Share screen. Window. Voice. Share. Let's see here. Allow. Caller, can you hear us, caller?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you just fine, Sarge.
What's going on? Who that?
Mr. W. I'm nervous now since Mrs. W's down in the chat. It's
Carl.
Wait, you changed your name to
All right,
W?
I'm not dropping.
No. Hell,
Carl, Mr. W.
I'm here.
You changed your name to W.
No. Well, I mean, Debbie's going to change her name to,
I'm dying.
I'm real nervous with Mrs. W down in the chat.
Go ahead, show Mrs. W why you've been nominated queen of the 5.63 billion morons on the social media.
He's so smitten. All right, I'm muting.
Yeah, she's going to see. She's going to be like, real important vice president or something. The 5.3 billion morons or whatever.
She could be the court jester too. You don't know,
Sure.
right? You never know. So what do we got from old Carl or Mr. W?
Well, I just want to let's talk about the moon landing.
Uh-oh.
What do you think about that? You really think that back in 1969 they literally had the technology or whatnot to go to the moon? You really think that? You believe that?
Well, let me ask you, did they have the ability to navigate the seas by stars? How long have they had that ability, Carl?
Well, I don't really know, but I
Since-
should assume the stars were within the firmament. But we'll
But so my answer to your question is, of course they could have done it without a calculator or a computer. The navigation from point A to point B has been done with sextants for hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands. So man's capacity to go places, whether it be on Earth or even above the skies, has been there for quite some time without computers.
Carl, my answer is Stanley Kubrick.
He can't hear you, Pearl.
Ah, fuck.
Pearl, he can't hear you. So when you talk, you're actually talking right over him.
Okay, then I'm gonna drop. I don't know I don't know who can hear me.
No,
But
you're fine, Carl. You're fine, Carl. You're fine.
thank you, Sarge. I'm not as dumb as I look, chat. All right, talk to you later. Mwah.
Well,
Get the hell out of here, Great World.
I am as smart as I look. I will take ownership of that. Carl?
Well, I'm about as cute as I look. Don't tell Mrs. That it's the same. No, I mean, think about that. I mean, would you want to be an astronaut? Okay, allegedly we're going to decide we're going to go to the moon, which I don't believe any of that shit. But who would be the guy that said, well, here's how much fuel you need to get there? I mean, how does that work?
Mathematics, simple math, basic math. Well, you can actually gauge the distance. Sure, you can figure that out with math, of course.
That don't make any sense.
Everything you do is based on math. Listen, everything you do is based on math. It's not
Well, I love math. I don't have anything,
right.
Math is great. I love numbers. I mean, you can actually prove things,
With math.
with numbers.
And they've done that with math. I mean, it's only until recently the Saturn V's power has been exceeded. And the Saturn V had a unique power of all rockets ever invented in that it provided more pounds of thrust than anything we'd ever created prior. And until just recently with Elon Musk, it stood as the most powerful rocket man had ever created. And so that being a fact, that goes into the column of man's capacity to move off the earth and into space and even to the moon. All right.
Well, that provides that you believe that.
It's not a belief. It's through math that I think that.
Well, I think it's mathematically possible to, for me to ride my lawnmower down to Mrs. W's house multiple states away. I have no idea how long it's going to take me going 5.8 miles an hour, or how many gallons of gas I'm going to.
Well, you can calculate all of that. You can calculate that with your first tank of fuel. Right?
Well, you could, but nobody, I mean, how would you know in 1969 what the distance would be between here and the moon?
Well, how do they do that with airplanes between Europe and Germany, between England and Berlin?
I personally believe that if you follow airplane tracks, if you will, flight maps, you can see for yourself that the Earth is indeed what I say, and it's flat. But I'm not going to go there with that.
Right.
I just basically came in to rescue Gray Pearl.
She didn't need rescuing.
She kept saying, somebody call.
Oh, well, yeah, maybe she was asking for a life preserver, right? I don't throw life preservers. I just generally like throwing in the water. It's just my nature.
Think about that. Now, where I live, there's 3 astronauts. I believe 3 that came from my town, including, my county, including being Gus Grissom.
How do you explain the astronaut that dropped a hammer and a feather on the moon and they both contacted the surface of the moon at the same time? How do you explain that?
Well, I don't explain that because I don't believe it happened.
So, yeah. And that's the thing with belief. Once you believe, then you actually exclude yourself from any contradiction. That's why believe. Wait, let me finish. I push this all the time. When dealing with man's knowledge, the last thing you should do is believe, ever. It has to be provable through some source, through some mechanism, through math, through observation, through something. And so when you refuse to do, in other words, you believe in that, that's fine. But belief isn't evidence of anything, right? There's no proof tied to belief. That's the problem. Belief is proofless. And that's supposed to only be applied to your spirituality. You don't need proof that God exists to look at the wonderment of the universe and accept that is how it happened. I get it. But when it comes to somebody saying they went to the moon and how did they figure it out, you can't believe we didn't go and then ignore all the facts that show you how we went. Right? And so what I'm suggesting is that rather than believe in anything, look at the facts each side supplies and then make a decision on what you think fits. But always be willing to accept that you could be wrong. I accept I could be wrong, that the earth could be flat. I accept that I could be wrong in saying that it's not. Yet there's never been any mathematical or scientific evidence to show me otherwise.
I very well could be wrong. I could be. Just like you're saying you could be.
Right.
So we're both agreeing we don't know.
Right. But what I am comfortable with accepting, based on the evidence that I've witnessed, that I've looked into, I accept the fact that we have broken through the atmosphere, that we do have satellites in space that are moving at 17,500 miles an hour. We have made it to the moon more than once. George W. Bush crashed a satellite into the moon intentionally under his presidency. Do you know that? That's how we discovered water in sections of the moon that we didn't know was there. We just landed on an asteroid, not an asteroid, a comet. Go ahead, I'm sorry. What I'm saying is there's evidence to support what we're showing mathematically and what we're being told and what we're actually witnessing with our eyes. You can't deny that Elon Musk's rocket is going up into the air. You can't deny that.
No, I can't deny that. You're right. But why does rockets always go up and then they always wane?
They arch over to compensate for the curvature of the earth, because what you don't consider is that nothing in space can do anything but move in a straight line. And the only reason you don't move in a straight line is because the curvature of space. So I've often used in science talks with people this understanding, which isn't accurate, but it's descriptive for a mental understanding. Imagine a object surrounded by water, as you suggest in your flat earth theory, right? In your firmament. That water is distorted. When a mass moves into the water, is the water not distorted? Yes. And so if you take a body of mass, be it a moon or a planet, space is actually distorted by the presence of that mass. And the space around the mass is distorted. And what happens is it's like being in a funnel. As long as you maintain the correct speed, you'll fly around the circle because the space is distorted. Unlike on a racetrack where you have to physically turn your wheel, space is a substance that you're moving through that's curved, and you follow the space that you're in. That's why a satellite, that's how it works, bro. That's how it works. Mathematically, that's how it's worked. It's been proven through massive scientific examples.
You know, Virgil Grissom, Gus Grissom, said that back, before what happened to him, that whole situation, said they didn't even have radio technology to go from 2 city blocks. And then we're all of a sudden supposed to believe that a few years later they went to the moon.
Well, what kind of an idiotic statement is that? What kind of an idiotic statement is that? Airplanes were communicating, submarines were communicating from Berlin. Those submarines, those wolf packs had to surface to get direct orders from the submarine commander. I forget his name. They couldn't make a fucking move without radio communications with Berlin. That's why they lost the submarine war. Are you kidding me? We couldn't have radio go 2 blocks. Are you serious, bro? And
that's allegedly from.
But we have Carl.
And then he was
Carl. That statement, if that statement came from him, it was an ignorant statement. There's evidence to show that radio communications, Tesla created it. Tesla sent the first signal across the ocean. We know this to be true. In the 20s, we were doing this. The radios were being broadcast. What do you think? Radio stations. How do you think you had the War of the Worlds broadcast? What do you mean?
You're talking about, okay, let's just say what you're saying is right. You're talking about a whole different, situation as being to the moon.
No.
What did they do? Did they have a separate space shuttle? Like did News Channel 13 have a space shuttle that went to the moon and recorded all this bullshit? And then they had like a gazillion miles of coax going back down to the earth?
Wow. You just don't understand. You don't understand radio. You don't understand radio frequencies. You don't understand radio waves. You just don't. And not understanding that would make what you're arguing an argument. But for that man to make that statement is just simply stupid. The broadcasts from your TV networks, if you flew out, I bet you our spacecraft Voyager, that's 1 billion miles from Earth, could turn around and receive the honeymooners from back in the day. It could receive cartoons. It could receive all kinds of shit. We've been transmitting electronic knowledge and information into the space forever, ever since we invented radio. These radio waves don't just go from your house to the other guy's house. They go full circle everywhere.
They got to be within X amount of miles.
But you boost the signal then.
Well, I mean, I can't be in Indiana and pick up, channels from North Dakota, assuming they actually have television channels. I don't know. But, you know what I mean?
No, there's a limit to the broadcasting capability. However, it's all based on wattage it's pushed out through the system. Just like you have a stereo where they have so many wattage for its power to the speakers. You amplify the signal, and the signal will go. I mean, look at this. You could pick up your phone now today. Do you think your phone talking to people in Mexico is transmitted from you to them? No. It's transmitted from tower to tower and amplified and carried across the microwave network and transferred to the other guy's phone, and it happens almost instantly. instant communication, wireless.
This isn't 1969, and we're not talking.
They had it. They had wireless communication with walkie-talkies, with big transmitting towers to communicate to ships in the middle of the Atlantic. Are you serious, bro? Ah, it's not that I believe it. This is scientific fact, and take science out of it. It's an absolute fact that they were communicating with ships hundreds, even thousands of miles away from each other.
Well, I believe that's possible. That hundreds of miles away on ships, I believe that's possible. But that's a far leap from going to the moon.
Yeah, but there's no atmosphere between you and the moon. There's nothing. Do you know space is empty? That's why space is black.
Oh, wait a minute. What about the I call it the Van Halen radiation belt, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Van Allen
belt. The Van Allen belt.
Yeah.
What about it?
Well, it's been said that we've never been through it. And also, let me bring up, how come according to NASA, they lost that technology, yada, 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 and it never went back? How come when Buzz Aldrin, don't know if he's saying his name right, but Buzz.
Do you remember the color of the craft as it was on the moon? What color did they present that craft as?
I personally don't know.
It was gold. It was gold because gold shields you from radiation. You know, the best way to shield yourself from radiation is water. That's why they store spent nuclear fuel in pools of water.
Well, I'm glad you brought up water, because to me, that whole moon landing looks like that ship shot in water.
Well, space behaves in some ways like water. That's why when I talk about gravity and moving through space, water does have some properties that you can actually impose upon how space reacts to a body of mass. So the Earth distorts the space around it. And satellites are moving at a specific speed that it maintains. Look at it like a funnel. A marble in a funnel will fall down through the bottom unless that marble can maintain speed around wherever it's moving. And in space, space is empty. A lot of people don't. Do you know in space that when you watch Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek and all of those where you see a ship make a right-hand turn, you can't do that in space, bro. You can only. There's nothing to push against. You can't even conceive what empty is. This is empty beyond what you can realize. It's empty. You can't fly a ship in space like you do an airplane on Earth. Not even close, bro.
Well, if I have an ink pen in my hand and I let go of it, it falls.
It doesn't. It's in motion. What you don't understand is you're not. This is where. Listen.
Sorry.
This is where Einstein came through with the theory of relativity to get people to understand that. You're not technically falling to Earth. The Earth is smashing into you. The Earth is moving through space 67,000 miles an hour. You're never, ever at rest. That's why the theory of relativity is important. The planet Earth is in motion. The sun that we move around is moving at 500,000 miles an hour through the solar system. The solar system is moving 2 million miles an hour through the galaxy. Nothing is dead. Stop. There is no real stop. Because no matter what you do, the space you're in is moving. You have to read the science to understand it. So that's why there's what they call the theory of relativity. Things in motion are relative to your position. But your position is never statically at stop. You're never stopped. You and I are both moving now at 60. No matter where you are on the planet, you're being moved through space at 67,000 miles an hour. Does the moon look like it stops? Sure it does. But that's relative because it's moving with us at 67,000 miles an hour. You see? Two cars going 50 miles an hour next to each other look like they're not moving, right? And if you're only looking at the car, you're looking from inside the car to inside the other car, and you can't see anything else but between you and the other car, and that view would be relative. You would think you were at a standstill. So it's all relative to your position in space and time.
I think you should read Marie from Tennessee's comment down here in the chat. It's next to last.
Please tell me you don't believe those space station vids. You could see the damn wires on their belts. I don't know what she's referring to.
Well, she's referring to space basically being made up, and that you know, the whole anti-gravity thing is kind of bullshit, in her opinion, and I agree with her. I don't know, man. I mean,
Well,
it goes back to what we talked about a couple nights ago, or, you know, damn near a week ago. You just believe whatever's in your head.
well, no, it's not even a matter of belief. I guess this is where we part ways. I don't believe that there's space. I can actually understand and reason it with the math that's been presented, and then with visual observation. So I'm not believing in it. I accept their explanation through the evidence they present. It fits what you're visualizing. Why does light, when it goes past the sun, bend? Why does light rays from a distant planet or sun that shines towards us, why, when it goes near the sun, does it bend? That's because the sun distorts space. Light is traveling through space, right? So if you're just like water, why does your ship rise and fall with a wave? Because the wave is the distortion of the surface you're on. If the water were completely flat with no wave, you would still have a distortion of your movement. Your movement would cause a distortion in the water itself. That distortion will affect other objects of mass in its vicinity. That's what space is. That's why I say it does behave somewhat like water.
Let's just say that where you live, from your house to a Walmart 30 miles down the road, let's just say everything between here and that Walmart down the road is flat. You know it. You know damn good and well it's flat. You walk every inch of it, every mile of it with a level, and you know damn good and well it's flat.
Yeah.
If you look, and that Walmart had a great big billboard or something that you could see, you know, from miles away, you would not be able to see it. They ain't got a damn thing in the world to do with no horizon or anything like that. It is simply your eyes can't see that far, and it would look like whatever you're looking at would be going downhill. Now, I don't believe that has anything to do with, you know, the horizon.
Ray Pearl asked a funny question. Well, why? Now, the flag didn't actually wave. The flag was put in the ground and it moved. But people ask, why does it look like it's blowing in the wind? And those are solar winds. You can literally use a sail. You can use what they call a solar sail. And so long as the light from the sun, and you can forget the sun, you can mount a laser on a mountain and point that laser at a solar sail on a satellite, and you could push that satellite to relativistic speeds, meaning multiples or portions thereof the speed of light. People think, I don't understand. Doesn't the light, when it hits your skin, don't you absorb it? Don't you feel it? Do you honestly think that the energy the sun is pouring out into space doesn't affect space? You have a thing called a solar wind. Go look up solar sails, Gray. It's a real thing. The sun is burning millions and millions of tons of helium or hydrogen, and that is being dispersed out through space. The reason why another reason space is black, because there's nothing to reflect the light, but the light is still there. Right? There's all kinds of different wavelengths. The reason you see the moon is because the moon is reflecting a wavelength of light that your eye can see. The reason you see your pop can, your microphone, your keyboard, is because they all reflect light. Everything reflects light except space. Space is black. There's nothing to catch the light rays that you and I can identify with, but you can catch heat. You could see the red shift. You could see blue shift. If you have scientific tools, and you can see the solar wind will move a craft. That's one of the proposed ways to move spacecraft. The problem is it takes so fucking long to get to good speeds by using a sail, just like we found on the ocean. You were better off with a propulsion system, fair enough, Carl, than you are with a sail.
Do you ever notice when they get into all these, you know, angles and, you know, trajectories and things spinning on an axis? And you ever notice how the number's always like 6? It's always like 66.6 degrees or 6.66. You know what I mean? Everything's always. You see what I'm saying?
In relation to what?
Well, you can look into this stuff. It's always like, I mean, I can't tell you right now here on the fly, but you can, Earth tilts on a 66.6 degree axis. Everything, they always use these 6 numbers.
Well, it's 23.5 is our axis of tilt.
Well, I mean, even you said some sixes earlier, you know, I mean.
Well, but 6 is a number that comes up in different stuff, but I guess I've said 17,500 miles an hour. At a certain distance
Yes.
above the surface of the earth, that speed will keep you circling the earth, not because your craft is driving in a circle. Your craft, if you go into space and you throw a fucking baseball, it will forever go straight and it will not stop ever unless it connects with something of equal or opposite force.
So how do you know that?
It's been proven through science, through math, and through experimentation. They did a lot of this stuff on the moon landing. They listen. They did, I saw it on the moon landing. I saw some of the experiments they do in the space station. You could see what these folks are doing. And the fact of the matter is that not only can it be witnessed and it's been shown, but the math supports it. You can't have this computer if you don't think math works. None of what we're doing today is possible without math. None of what we've been doing forever. Imagine if people had.
Love math. Don't get me wrong, I love math.
How would you build a ship or a steam engine without math?
But you really wouldn't.
Well, you would, but they'd be a pretty fucked up looking thing. It might not even float, right? Right.
Well, actually, yeah, I mean, sure, you know. But the thing is that we know we've seen a ship sail. We've seen that. You know what I mean? Hell, I used to own a boat, you know.
So did I. I had a nice big yacht. Bank that I robbed lent me the money for the yacht.
Well,
I'm just saying.
like that, but
Big power yacht.
we know what we know. We know what we can see. I mean, I know if I take baking soda and vinegar, I can have a reaction. I know that. I
Okay.
see it.
All
It's real. And I don't see this shit.
Well, you do see it, but here's the thing. You will not accept that as likely or even possible that you believe that that's not true. So when they show you watch cameras, live feed cameras of Elon's craft going into space, right? You see Elon launch the car into space, but you don't believe that. You think it's fake.
Actually, I honestly never watched it myself. I haven't.
Yeah, so there's a whole different world of understanding beyond just what you can observe. Your observations, like I was trying to say, with Einstein's theory of relativity, he shows you that nothing's really standing still. Science has shown you that nothing is truly solid, that inside every single thing of matter are particles in motion. On the very, very microscopic level, there's atoms and there's electrons that circle around the atom. Everything is in motion. Things are only solid, like Schrodinger has pointed out. Things are what things are because they've been impressed upon us to be what they are. A table that you see today, Carl, doesn't necessarily need to be a table. I've said this, you may have heard me say this. I think it's completely within man's capacity that if children are raised in an environment where the parents fly around the room, that through the power of belief and visuals, and just a very few short generations, people would fly without a machine.
Well, through this power of belief and visuals, we've got people confused of how many genders there are. So,
well, that's been ended by Trump, though. Didn't he just end all of that shit? He killed that argument. But here's the other thing, too. This is the best part about that. The reason that stuff is so common in society is because we've engaged it. You see, that's what I mean. Man's power to create is simple and complex. But on the simplest form, propaganda can only exist with a propagandist. And the sad part is it's the people arguing against the propaganda that are the propagandists. I shoot people down on Twitter constantly for that. I don't want to fucking hear what Nancy Pelosi said. I don't give a fuck what Al Gore's opinion is. Why are you people talking about this? And that's why it exists, you see. This argument about genders exists because we argue and push back against it. But the simple answer to all of this is to just not engage it. Oh, great. Oh, yeah, you're that. Perfect. Good. Can somebody please find me more oil? Why we stop to engage a lot of this nonsense is why this nonsense exists. We manifest it by our engagement.
well, we allow people to be idiots.
But we actually engage these idiots. Look at that one guy there. He's married to Candace Owens, and he goes onto these college campuses to show just how stupid these people are about abortion or about transgenderism. Look at that level of engagement. He's the king propagandist, and he doesn't even himself know it. He's not as smart as he thinks he is. Right? If you tell your kid don't touch that cookie, don't touch that cookie, how many times are you going to engage in that conversation with your kid touching that cookie?
You know, but if I had $1 billion, which I don't, but if I did, people would look at me going, oh, yeah, he's so smart because he's so rich. And that's just not how my mind works.
No, I don't work it on that way either. I don't look at how much money you have to determine whether you're intelligent or not. That's a skill that could look at. Some guys can't even change a fucking light bulb. Right? But the guy that can change a light bulb, listen, the guy that can change a light bulb is smarter in that arena than the guy that can make all of that money. So smarts is relative to your perspective. Right? But I don't accept a guy with a lot of money. I don't think that Trump, I think Elon's smarter than me, not because of his money, but because of what he's been able to accomplish. Right? Out of fucking nothing. Nothing. He started after he sold PayPal. He helped create PayPal. He sold his share in PayPal and then risked all his money on electric cars and rockets. Okay.
Well, and I don't think that electric car thing is going to work out too good.
I think it is. They're coming up with battery. They got diamond batteries now where they're putting radioactive isotopes and diamonds, and these batteries will last 20 to 50 years.
Well,
right.
You know, we'll see.
Well, can I just say though, listen, you wouldn't have had a car if you didn't start out with a horse. You got to start somewhere.
And that's the whole reason why they use the word dashboard. The dashboard is to keep us from kicking stuff up at you.
Correct.
That's where that works.
All right. So in order to get, and I'm a big supporter of electric vehicles, even electric airplanes, and I'm a big supporter of that because the infrastructure required to attain that is massive. And that's why we should do it. Not because of global warming, not for any social issue, but for the advancement of man. The answers are in electricity. We've mastered fire. We are the masters of fucking fire. Yet we use fire to create electricity. Yet we need to come up with ways for electricity to create electricity. Electricity to be stored and used at will, whenever you want, because that's the key to our civilization, right? And that's why I suggest
Are we going to, instead of, having farmland, are we going to take that farmland and, have thousands upon thousands of acres just full of, solar panels?
Well, no, you're looking at it. You're looking at it from the wrong perspective, Carl. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that when you talk about technology, battery storage, some solar plants are good because they actually focus the light of the sun and they turn salt into molten salt of thousands of degrees. That boils water. That steam turns a generator. That solar facility works 24 hours a day. You put it in the middle of a desert. There's several of them on Earth, and they work fantastic. Do I want civilization to depend on that? No. But what about fusion energy, Carl? The whole surface of the moon is covered in helium-3. You don't even need a fucking shovel. The element for fusion, because they've got samples of the moon's surface through rovers. China's got rovers up there. Russia's had rovers up there. We've had people up there. Okay. So, my point is that electricity is the future. Not on the level of arguments that idiots are having today over how far a car will fucking go. Of course, they only go a few hundred miles. However, that's temporary. Original gas engines, what do they make? 10, 12 horsepowers? Look what the Wright brothers used to fucking fly. That thing barely made 12 horsepower. Planes today make 500,000 horsepower per engine. You got to start somewhere, Carl. Can you accept that? Is that fair?
I'm just going to go back to what I believe. And what I believe is you believe what you believe, and I believe what I believe.
No, that's the difference is it's not my belief. I'm trying to present facts and information that make common sense, and you're falling back on what you believe. You refuse to hear any of that. That's why the discussion really never goes anywhere. Even in light of common sense, where there's actually, you go look up diamond batteries. China just came out. England came out with it. Then China. Go understand how diamonds can be used to store electricity. Right?
Quite personally, when they get there and that happens, let me know. But as for now, I'll just go to the gas pump and, you know, spend 5 minutes there putting, you know, $30 worth of gas in my car and get on down the road.
Yeah, and so we'll listen.
2 hours or something for plugging it back in.
So will a billion other vehicles on the road, Carl. However, we didn't get to where we are by stopping at the horse.
You ain't wrong there.
And so
Really,
are you one of those guys that were against the cars because they stank? Do you know how hated cars were when they first came out? Do you have any idea how the majority of the world saw the automobile when it first came out into the public? They fucking hated it. They hated it. They didn't want it anywhere near their horses.
well, sure, it'd be something new, and I believe they did actually start out as steam engines. Am I not right?
Well, steam, and then the first real cars were electric, and then they moved on to gasoline. Look, they had to improve gasoline. In early days, they had to add lead so they could make more horsepower. They had a lot of. My point is, you can't advance anywhere unless you start somewhere. And you could start with people putting shoes on if you want to start talking about moving goods and doing things, right? Protect your feet. Then they had to go collect animals every day and hunt every day. Somebody decided, wow, what if we trick these animals and trap them in a pen? Then we ain't got to hunt every day, right? Then they thought, whoa, what if we let them breed? Huh? Now we never got to go hunting again. So my point is that in order to move forward, some of these technologies today that everybody's hating on are literally the future. And people, just like they did with the car in the early days, they didn't want to look beyond the nose on their face. They still wanted to walk down the street covered in horse shit.
Well, so what we're saying is, you believe that's the future, but we can agree we're not there yet.
No, I know it's the future, and I think that too many people that want to believe and disbelieve things are the obstacle. That believing in man stuff should never be allowed. Personally, we should just not allow that.
Can I get in an electric car and go 2 hours from my house right now?
Yes.
Stopping to recharge?
2 hours? Absolutely, easily.
So do I have to have like a Tesla to do that?
No, you could buy listen. No. The Chevy Silverado goes 440 miles on one charge.
What if I run the air conditioner and the radio?
It goes 440 miles on one charge. If you want to run the air conditioning, you might lose 10% of your distance. Now you're at 400 miles.
And you know, I got.
No, it's all fairly well calculated into it. They're not saying that you got to roll the windows up and die in a hot box to go. The GM sells a truck that goes 440 miles. So now let me ask you this, Carl. If you could jump in a truck that would go 1,000 miles without being recharged, would you be okay with that?
1,000. Well, if I could go 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
How long does it take me to recharge it though?
I'm asking you a simple question. Listen, I'm asking you a simple question. If you could go 1,000 miles, would that be acceptable?
If everything's perfect and what you're saying is correct, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
I know you wouldn't. And that's what I'm saying, is that in order for us to get there, the opposition to it needs to ask and at least be patient, but ask solid questions. You couldn't go from a horse to a gasoline powered car without many steps in between. And I couldn't have the availability to put 1,000 fucking horsepower in my car by buying one engine that's naturally aspirated if somebody didn't start out with the first 1 horsepower. As a matter of fact, the history of gasoline engines is a very, very fucked up history. Nobody wanted them, Carl. They all wanted to keep using steam, just like you are with gas. Did you know the only reason there's a horsepower rating on an engine was so they could fucking sell it? Did you know that?
I don't doubt it. I know that I received a $75 check back in 2006 for somehow I became involved in a class action lawsuit that I knew absolutely nothing about.
Right.
From John Deere, where they misrepresented the horsepower rating of a Kawasaki engine.
There you go. But again, in the very beginning, and this is for everybody in the audience too, gasoline engines were not accepted. They stank, and they were a mystery to everybody. And they didn't want them in their factories in anything. And so one of the guys that was tasked with selling the engine decided to state that this will do 1 horsepower, one horsepower worth of work. But all you need to do is add gas. You don't need to feed it, clean it, change its shoes. Okay, so he lied. He made that up out of thin air. Your horsepower ratings are a fucking there's formulas that argue this, that, or the other thing. But my point is, even for these engines to be accepted, if these engines were not accepted, he came up and devised a way for people to understand and accept it. And that's where gasoline engines took off, Carl. But this is the same argument you have against electric cars and electrification is the same argument we had in the beginning of gas engines, yet nobody wants to understand the connectivity to these 2 points. And they're not thoughts or beliefs. These are realities. These things really took place in man's history, recent history, right? You're only talking 150 years or so. So,
yeah, I'm not going to argue the horsepower thing. I think it's bullshit. I mean, basically, you used to have, a riding lawnmower that had an 8-horse engine on it. Now you won't find a riding lawnmower with less than a 20-horse engine on it. You know it's bullshit. You know it's made up.
well, no, the rating, that's why you got that check. That engine has to perform a task to show it makes 20 horsepower. And if it doesn't, then
But it isn't necessary. It isn't necessary. You know what I mean?
Well, it is because it also tells you what something can do. So you're not going to put an 8-horsepower engine on a lawn tractor with a digger on it when the 20 horsepower is available, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you had an 8-horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine on a, whatever, a 40-inch cut lawnmower. Now you don't see that.
No, you see higher horsepower. Well, look, these people talk about muscle cars in the 60s. And you go buy a fucking Toyota that has that much horsepower today, and it's a grocery getter, 300 horsepower. No big deal. Because technology, the mastering, and I said this when computerization hit the car industry. I said it'd be the best thing this fucking industry ever has. And it turned out to be true. You can't get better engines than you have today. You can't get longer running engines or more powerful engines than you have today if you didn't have computers tied to it.
But how many people, have developed cancer and whatnot working in factories and whatnot producing these gas powered?
Well, then, Carl, we all need to go back, live in the caves and shelter under trees when it rains.
Well, the hydraulic oil that they, had to change out and their, presses or whatever, and they just dumped it out.
Well, then, let's go all the way back. Why did she have to bite that apple? Right?
That's true. Why did she? Yeah.
I'm going to present something on that. Watch. Here. I'm going to present something here. This is going to be interesting. So, watch this. See if you guys can see it. Let's share it on the screen. Can you guys to show it? You see that it says worst moments in man's history? Let me see if I can.
YouTube.
I don't know if YouTube is showing it.
I can see your face on the screen.
You got to refresh it. It might get to watch. You ladies are going to love this. Oh, my God. You're all going to want to marry old Sarge. You guys see the newspaper? Do you see it, Carl? Worst moments in man's history? Yeah. No, but watch.
1920. Men give women the right to vote.
Did you see that?
Well, now I agree with that. Now that's a whole other thing.
I know. Ladies, did you see that?
That right there, I mean, but that right there is a whole other thing,
Listen, I did work for a woman, and she's considered one of the 10 most influential women in the country. And this woman is an amazing person. But she helped make IBM. She helped make some of these big corporations what they are today. And she pointed out, she had all the write-ups and all the articles that she'd written over the many years, because she's older now, quite a bit older than I am. And she showed history. And what women don't know is that women did not want the right to vote. Did you know that, Carl?
Well, that whole concept never made sense to me. And if you allow me to speak, I mean, say it. I'll say it. Why the hell would they want to? They want the right to vote. I mean, excuse me, to work. I mean, not vote, but the right to work. Why? Why would you want to do that? The only thing they did was they made themselves go to work. They doubled the workforce. They cut wages in half. and they put their kids in the hands of the government. Now, how fucking smart was any of that?
No, yeah, you could debate that, but I think the conversation I wanted to point out to especially women was there's a reason why women didn't want the right to vote. And the reason back at that specific time in history and prior, from there back and even forward somewhat, was the right to vote also included a requirement that you participate in your community. If there was a fire, that's where this stuff comes from. Men had to put their life on the line. This is why men had the right to vote. This is why men were told that women and children first. You see, the world was slightly different than it is today, and it's been perverted to that people thought that women were being oppressed, and it wasn't oppression that prevented them from voting. It was their desire not to be running up and down ladders, putting out fires, okay? Standing up barns and fields. That community work was put at the feet of male citizens that had the right to vote. And that's the way the country operated back then. The right to vote was vehemently opposed by women. Okay? They did not want it because they did not want to have to do with the things that were required. Now, that eventually was pushed through Congress and the Senate, but against the majority of women. This wasn't a public vote for that. This was done by your congressmen and your senators, not by women voting to make it happen. And that's a part of history a lot of Americans are just not familiar with.
I don't doubt that.
Right?
I don't doubt that one bit, Sarge. I tell you, I don't. And I tell you, when it comes to voting, I think that only property owners should be allowed to vote. And I also think that only one household should get one vote. That's it.
Well, there you go. There's another way of doing it. Yeah. I mean, but we live in the reality we live in. Today, women can vote, right? Blacks are no longer a 1/3 vote. They're a full vote. They're considered. So things have changed.
I mean, if I had to go to work and Mrs. Carl didn't, was at home and she got to vote, I would say, hey, Mrs. Carl, this is how we're going to vote. And I would trust that she's going to go pull the lever that, we agreed upon.
Well, there you go. You're mixing trust with women. And where does that get you?
Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm just being a smart ass.
That don't work out too damn good.
Yeah. Why tell a story a lie, right? I mean, it's I don't even know. It's a bit crazy.
Yeah, Grant's down there saying not everyone owns property, though. Yeah, that's right, Grant. If you don't own property, you don't get to vote.
Right.
So that's exactly what I'm saying.
Right. Those are the people that have a direct shareholder of the country. Right. They own their own piece of land, whether they're making payments on it or not. They're putting out the effort, the time, and to be established as an owner. So yeah, there's an argument that you can make sense out of that. But I always thought it was interesting when I sat down with this woman and she showed me all these articles back from the time, what they call women's suffrage, and how most of the women absolutely were like, absolutely fucking not. We don't want anything to do with vote. And you try to say that to a modern woman today, and she'll look at you like you're crazy. Well, they voted for it. No, women did not vote for that right. Okay, men did that to them in the Senate and Congress.
Well, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that one bit. I mean, I can't say you're right, wrong, or indifferent, but I sure as hell don't doubt it. So I assume what you're saying is right.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it if I hadn't saw the evidence plain as day in her catalogs, because she's writing for a Christian monitor. It's something that goes around the world. It's some Christian. I forget, but it's a religious publication that she submits her articles to.
As long as we ain't talking about space and shit like that, I believe you and I agree with you.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So, all right, Carl, kick your ass out of here.
all right, do the thing.
Oh man, now I got to go and go. My God, hang up on Carl. How dare he? Miss W's owned her own property since she was in her 20s, so that tracks. You should have skin in the game if you're going to vote. Not everyone owns a property, though. Boom, Carl. What did Carl say? I could listen to you talk all day and night, Carl. Miss W might be Mr. and Mrs. Carl W. Apparently, Carl's surrendering his last name to Miss W. Yikes. But, to each their own. I'd be hard-pressed to believe Carl would actually take the woman's name, but apparently he's willing to do so, but not, I don't know. My mom loved drinking and eating Valium and reading Harlequin romances. Well, that's true. I had a stepmother that did that. Yep, there was a period in time where every medical issue a woman had was all in her head, and they gave her Librium or Valium. Librium preceded Valium. It's crazy, man. What else we got here? 585-454-9932. Come on, come in here, make an ass of me, or I'll make an ass of you, but someone's ass is going to hurt. Probably not mine. Let's see here. So, what is it? Someone's agreeing to disagree. Let me think here. Look at, she could listen to you all day there, Carl. I can't call her Miss Carl. You got to call her Miss Ferguson. Or you got to call Carl Miss W or Mr. W, something. I don't even know. But why do all the women's problems have to be about men, right? Just think about that, ladies. Why are all the problems with women all about men, like menopause? What? Why do you got to relate your issues to men? Menopause. Why we got to be blamed for that? There's a whole bunch of ailments that women have, but somehow the description of that ailment includes man. I'm just a bit tired of it. Menopause, my ass. It's a biological function of your body. It's got nothing to do with menopause. Men got nothing to do with it. We didn't make your body change. That's just the nature of the beast, baby. I don't believe in menopause. I believe in the ailments that you acquire as you get older. But calling them menopause, I don't know. It's almost kind of offensive, right? There's a few other terms that women use. And an ailment that the word man is in, or men. Very, very fucked up. Very unfair. We're very unfairly treated, ladies. Yep. Now, do women know why their feet are smaller than men's? Do any of you ladies know why your feet are smaller than a man's feet? Any of you know? Old Sarge has got the answer for you if you don't know. If you don't know, hit number 1 in the chat room. Why are women's feet smaller than men? Hit number 1 or give me the answer. Any of you ladies know? Come on. Why are ladies' feet smaller than men's feet? And I can give you the answer. The answer is so that you can get closer to the sink to do dishes. That's the answer, okay? How you like them apples? Now, what do you say about that? Oh, my God. Well, you know, that's just one answer. I'm not claiming it's accurate, but it is an answer. You all were hitting number 1. You didn't have no answer. So I learned you something. It's crazy. No spankings. Sarge don't take spankings. Sorry. Don't hit old Sarge. Sarge will probably hit back. Yep. Gender is no longer relevant when a fisticuffs are coming. You forget pregnant. Well, I don't know. I was talking about the size of their feet, not their belly. See that? Marie knew from Tennessee. She knew the answer. Well, it's been a long show, folks. I appreciate it. I appreciate the company for me to rattle on and rattle off. It's like that what is it? Wax on, wax off. That Mr. Miyagi show there. Hell yeah. I just couldn't remember the punchline. And we haven't solved the murder of Tommy's son. Although I tend to think it has something to do with trees and drugs and I don't know, maybe reservations and engines and I don't even know. I got to look at the tea leaves and study the moon and watch the reflection off of my pool cover and maybe that'll reflect off of my sports car and the garage roof and Lord only knows where these reflections will take us. But somewhere within the reflections are just photos of different things. Well, the answer will be, you know. Yeah, so it's been a good night. I appreciate y'all coming in. Good spirited discussion. You know, Gray Pearl just trying to talk over me 24/7. Good discussion there, Gray. Carl with his I don't even know what to say, Carl. But yeah. As the world turns. The world doesn't turn, not according to Carl. No rest for the weary, Miss Carl. Yeah, the world doesn't turn. The world is static, apparently. We're just sitting here. And the sun is moving around us somehow. I don't know. We're like a snow globe, is what I've been told. Which is apt for where I live because there is snow on the ground here. So from my understanding, there's snow all the way down south. It's crazy. And I don't even know what to tell you now. That's just, it is what it is. Let's see here. Worst moments in man's history. That was kind of funny, wasn't it? All right, folks. Good night. Thanks for stopping in. This is your buddy Sergeant Friday, your Ass Hurts News Network, talking to you from Beijing, top of tower, with the Scratch of My Balls Convention Center. And never forget, I have the world's first transgender Alexa. The first transgender Alexa on Earth belongs to Sergeant Friday, and I don't think anybody should minimize that. That was a hell of an experiment that proved that even Alexa can be transgender. So everybody have a good night. Be good. Stay out of trouble or get in trouble. If you get in trouble, just don't get caught.